Okay, so for everybody who's here, yay, congratulations on investing in your business. For those who are going to catch the replay, that's all right. Do what you got to do, baby, and you're going to come back and you're going to invest in your business. So you gave everybody an assignment, and everybody, your mics are open. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow questions at the beginning, because there was a couple of people who had questions. One person got denied. Another person who's already been doing print on demand got an IP or whatever.
IP claim. It might be IP claim.
Copyright infringement. And so we want to be able to answer those questions. So let's knock those out. And then once we're done answering those questions, and then we will let you guys do your presentation. And then at the end, when we're done, let me know it's a clean break, and then we will open up the mics again so everybody can talk. So it looks like maybe we got some questions in that. Okay, so let's see. Time will tell. I don't know who that's probably Renata. Okay, so if you get denied on Amazon merch, that's the question. Can you apply again? I haven't been denied. Just curious. And you can unmute yourselves if you guys got questions. He wants to hear.
Find word unmute me.
Yeah, I unmuted. You're unmuted, Norman. We can hear you.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
All right. I filed for the merch, and they told me I was updating my merch account. I only have the Amazon seller account.
I can answer that. You might have applied for one in the past. Their application has changed over time. So when it first came out, there was basically nothing you had to do. It was just like click here, and then you would, sign up for an account. And that didn't guarantee you that you got an account, but the application was much easier. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder, and they have changed the system so many times that now you can go back and update your application for them to see it again. So if you went through those steps and it said you updated your application, then that was the right thing to do, and now you're in consideration for them to give you an account.
Okay.
You want to knock out?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you want to knock out that other question too about getting denied.
Yeah, so if you do get denied, you can reapply with the same email. But usually what we suggest people is then use a different email, even though your personal information will be the same, but using a different email. It's still one that you're going to check because you don't want to miss out when you sign up with that email, and not like just a complete junk email, because they will be sending you information to that email. So trying to find another email. If you're using Gmail, you can create a new email and link it back to the original one. There's ways to get around that, but that's our suggestion for that. Don't give up. This is your first test that you're going to run into working with Amazon.
Adversity.
So it will take you, one time or two or three or four. But you can also, what you can do is, while you yourself are not supposed to have multiple merch accounts, you can have people in your family have merch accounts. So if you have a wife or a brother or a sister or children, you can sign up with their names and information, as long as they're over 18, to get an account as well. So that's a way to kind of increase your chances. You can have people around you sign up for some accounts. If you guys know anything about Seller Central accounts, you're limited to having 2 on your IP, and merch has not come out and said that same rule, but we kind of think the same thing applies. So I would suggest, if they live in other areas or different parts of your neighborhood, probably ask them to do that, and not just have everyone in one household apply for an account. Because again, we don't have any official statement that says you can only have 2 per household, but we've kind of noticed from families all applying for accounts, usually about 2 of them get that. And so they are keeping track of your IDs.
Yeah, and I just want to say that we have accounts, when we got accounts back in the day when it was different. All the experience that we have now is by helping other people. There is no this is the right way to do it. It's just by helping a lot of people, we can kind of just consolidate all of that data and say, okay, this seems to work most for most people. And that's where we're speaking from. So if we are answering a question and seems a little vague, that's why, because we have not reapplied for accounts. We're just seeing what other people are doing, and then through helping them see, okay, this tends to work the best and be the most consistent. That's why I'm going to put that little slide deck together with that little email in there. That I think is at an 80%. If people are going to get in, that seems to be the way that we are able to help them get an account. Now, sometimes Amazon opens up the floodgate and it just seems like everybody's getting accounts and they kind of go in waves. And sometimes they just lock it down where nobody gets an account. So just that's why we were trying to harp on it so much last week, because we just helped a few people get in and they got in almost immediately, where it might take 2 weeks. It was almost like overnight they were getting accepted. So that's why we were trying to harp on that. Like, if you haven't got an account, you should, now is the time. Last week, I think it's still good. You should apply even if you don't have an account. Now is the time. Going into Q4, I think they're going to lock it down again and then not let people in until next year. So if you're thinking about doing this, even if you're like, I might want to wait a month or two, apply now, because now is the time to start that process.
Yeah. And just a question that we'll throw out there: if anyone has got an account, letting us know that information. Like we said, we're not out here applying for multiple accounts. So knowing you guys is, if anyone's getting an account, if you are actually getting denied, all those things help us understand
what's going on with Amazon. Yeah.
All those things.
And so, guys, hold on, Norman, just 1 second. So did anyone like apply and got approved already? If you did, we want to hear, we want to know.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm going to answer the other question that you asked earlier about the person selling the mugs and getting a trademark. That's a little bit more difficult to answer, because depending on the email that Amazon sent them, that kind of shows you what the next steps should be. I would definitely reach back out to Amazon for clarification. And I know that is not always an easy thing to do, because sometimes you'll get kind of stuck in a loop of like, you're just getting that first person and they're just giving you that like auto response back. But if you try to either call them, I don't know if that's an option anymore, because I haven't actually dealt with this in a while. Because most of the stuff that we do, we really try to trademark check and not have those problems. There are a lot of false IP claims getting sent out, batch stuff. So it's kind of the space that we're currently in. There's a lot of people doing some fraudulent things because they know Amazon doesn't have the manpower to deal with it. So they're just like flooding the system to be able to falsely claim the words like funny. And then everybody gets kicked off the word funny, which is not right. And then eventually Amazon fixes it and then they kind of go back to it. So I don't know what type of claim that you have. If it's a real legit claim and you did actually step on somebody's trademark, like just going and asking Amazon for a little bit more clarification is definitely the next step I would do. And then we are going to show a tool tonight called Tangent Test that I would go and like actually go to the, I always mess this site up. Yeah, the official government site and check and see, because they'll be able to tell you what trademark you stepped on if you're using certain keywords in there. Sometimes Amazon is super vague and just saying, oh, it's something in your listing, which is like mind-bending that they could even do that. But it could be in your backend keywords, it could be your title. With a Seller Central listing, it's a slightly different process than with a merch. And that's why we like to teach merch first. It's a little bit more, it's a little easier to understand the process and know like where the boundaries are before you jump into a Seller Central type of print-on-demand business.
Yeah, if you're doing mugs, my guess would be that you're using your actual Seller Central account. So those are handled slightly differently than if you were just to have a merch listing. And usually in the merch listings, if anyone out there does get a claim, they've been actually a little bit better. I've seen some people in the last month or two send me.
Yeah, as of very lately.
Yeah, I had rejection, and they sent me this email, and they'll actually like put, what terms of service you crossed or whatever. A lot of them, again, just a disclaimer, have been the youth sizing. There are certain things that you cannot put on youth sizing, usually like inappropriate things, and you can look at their terms of service to see what inappropriate means. So just be aware of that. We've gotten even some veteran people who have sent me an email and said like, hey, why did I get this claim? And I was like, oh, well, it says in the email, but you just have to click that little link and read through what you can't put on youth shirts. So you just be aware of that. But merch, like I said, has been a little bit better about telling you what you've done instead of just being like, you're rejected and we're not going to say anything about it.
Sometimes Amazon, and they do this on eBay a lot, or used to at least, is that they will follow you if you have like multiple, you log on multiple IP addresses, and if your laptop or whatever the mobile device you're using has a serial. And so if they're following you, then make sure you have one dedicated device for all of your business activities. So then that way, if you do happen to have multiple accounts, use laptop A only for account A, and use laptop B only for account B, and make sure you have, we tell people to do 2 different hotspots. That's another way that you can do it, and make sure that you do them correctly. Because if you connect them wrong, then they'll figure it out. So that's another way to do that.
Yeah, those were, I mean, I guess it's still a legit way. Normally, like reaching out to Amazon, they've gotten better at just like understanding what people are trying to do and working with you. So that, I mean, yes, that is a possible solution, but just trying to like reach out to Amazon, even though it might not be the easiest way to do that anymore. But I found like if you get on the phone with them, and even if you have to call up a few different people and they'll ask you different questions, eventually be able to speak to like a manager or somebody that can make that call and at least tell you a little bit more information. And I think as far as merch is concerned, not necessarily a Seller Central account, but merch, like if you get rejected, it's not like a hard rejection. It's more of like, do they have the spaces to allow new people in? So if you get rejected, it's not like, oh, I need to apply with a whole new IP address and everything. It's normally just like, okay, I need to reapply. Or they might tag your email, not necessarily your IP or your internal serial, which again, there are different methods around that. But yes, I think as far as merch is concerned, it's not that serious. But if it is Seller Central or probably at eBay, they don't track as heavily. But I know Amazon is getting way slicker at how they're looking that stuff up. Because even if people do multiple bank accounts now, because that was the big thing, they can still link those bank accounts to the user and then track your name and everything else. So it's a constant cat and mouse game. But there are ways to manipulate that stuff. But that's why I think we like to teach just merch and then just understand the terms and the rules and then follow that, and then you should have less problems moving forward.
We strongly suggest merch by Amazon, but it is not the only way of doing things. And that's kind of what we're going to get into next week as well. So if it's been 2 weeks and you haven't had a merch by Amazon account and you're chomping at the bit to do some print on demand stuff, we're going to cover that, and I'll show you one that you can sign up for and get an account instantly and start listing stuff.
Well, I think that's a great segue. So what we're going to do now is, if you have other questions, definitely go ahead and write them down, because they're going to actually go into next steps. Now that you've created your merch account, and let's say you are all approved, and hopefully, I know that Kelly's already approved. I think Hazel and Cindy applied. They haven't heard back yet. So for those of you who are still sitting on the fence, this is Q4. Stop sitting on the fence, okay? Just go apply. And go do it now, please.
I like Nicole's serious tone.
I'm like, yes, just go apply. Get it done. I mean, all of you, look, we are all in this business to make some money and change our lives. All of us are destined to complete some type of assignment or plan that God has got for us. So y'all just need to get with the program, stop procrastinating, stop sitting on your hands, take action, get it done.
Preach.
Now, with that being said, what we're going to do is they are going to go into everything you need to do. Let's say your account's approved. Now here's next steps. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? What type of things should you be listening? And that is what the next 45 minutes to an hour is going to cover.
Probably two.
Probably two. There you go. There we go. So it's already connected to the Facebook group. And I will tell you guys, I'm sorry we chopped off the first 5 minutes of that discussion. It was really just questions. So we can go back and repeat those. But we did.
Happy birthday again. He missed it.
Oh, yeah, we did. But we really want everybody to take really good notes, because, again, this is your opportunity to do this business without having inventory in your house. Okay? And also without actually having to spend any money. These are two ways in which to do this business without spending any money. So if you are tight on funds, you need to pay attention to what these guys have to say. They got some golden nuggets for you. And let me see before I put myself on mute and you guys start. Okay. All right. So yes, we'll have the Q&A, our regular Q&A, guys. What you need to, what we're going to do is our regular Q&A is actually going to be canceled for tonight, because we're going to do questions and answers after this session is over. So if you have anything that's not related to this, you can go ahead and just ask your questions at the end of the session. And again, we might be on here for a while. It's not going to be at 9:30. We're going to be on here. That's why Stephen is like, ooh, I'm tired already. So, so I am going to try and move closer to the internet, because I'm way on the other side of the house. I'm going to move closer to the internet so that you guys can hear me. I might actually move to my office. But I'm going to mute myself out, and we're going to go ahead and start in 3, 2.
This feels like a real production. I like it. Well, before we start, again, I'm just going to say thank you, Nicole, for having us and allowing us to come into your group. It's an amazing opportunity. We truly do love to help people. I'll let you speak a little bit, Nathaniel, and then I'll share my screen after you emphasize anything that you want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, no, we're just happy to be here. Hopefully you guys can tell I'm probably a little bit more energized than Steven, but I'm excited to talk about this content that we have tonight. We've been teaching for a long time, like almost 2 years, so I guess it's not super long. But this wasn't like in our cards. I know you guys heard kind of our history lesson last week of how we got started and all the processes that we went through. So it's just exciting to be here now and be passionate about something that we're teaching to all of you guys here and getting a new group into the print-on-demand merch by Amazon space. This is kind of, I don't know, this will bring me joy. So I'm happy that we've been teaching for so long and that we can show you guys the power of what we've learned and, help you avoid some of the failures that we went into. We say that we want you to learn from our mistakes and our failures. So I'm just kind of a little bit giddy to share this information in a more streamlined way than we've done in the past. And it's truly just from helping other people, learning what's actually helping them, like we just talked about the, how to get an account. We only know those things because we are trying to help people, both one-on-one and small groups and bigger audiences and things like that. But this is what we found we're passionate about. And so any opportunity that we get to share this information with you guys, even after, a hard day and like a lot of struggle today, we're excited to be here. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this.
Right. I'm gonna share my screen, but if we can cut cameras, yeah, because I don't want to be blocking anything up on the top right. So tonight,
sorry, do you hear my mic jumping in and out?
Not really. You're
Okay.
good. My bigger concern is that you might just fall off and I don't know it and I'd throw to you and then you, because we've been having internet problems tonight.
Yeah, that is a possibility. Also, if you can click on the slides to make your little
the bar.
Perfect. Okay, let's do this thing.
So tonight we're going to be covering merch by Amazon. I just want to point out the benefits again. We covered this last week, but really these benefits are truly why we like everybody to start on merch by Amazon. And the Amazon customers getting to tap into Amazon as a website for free through merch is amazing.
Yeah, you also get to tap into their print on demand. So their actual DTG printers, which in themselves are like a $500,000 piece of machinery, which sits in a very expensive warehouse that has all the blank products and just all of the expense and risk that we don't have to take because Amazon has kind of taken that for us and is allowing us to use that for free.
Yeah, it's almost like you get to start a $1 million company overnight, which is, again, unheard of.
Also, their Prime shipping, which has really changed kind of the online shopping experience. They're letting us use all of the airplanes and cars and buses and all the stuff that they're using to get those shipments out as quick as possible. We're tapping into that. Again, we don't have to front the bill. We don't have to tell them, hey, we're going to cover this part of the shipping this month. That would be absolutely ludicrous. So they're just allowing us to use their Prime shipping. And my favorite part, the customer service. We touched on this a little bit last time we talked, and I was kind of Steven's personal customer service rep and had to answer all those emails and take the returns and make sure we got the right thing back and deal with all that headache. So I am so happy that Amazon has a whole team dedicated to just making sure that customers have the best experience possible, and we don't actually have to deal with any shirts coming to us. So not only do we not have to provide any of the shirts, we don't actually get, when customers are angry or if there's a misprint or anything sent to our personal location. Amazon handles all of that.
And then why I think I love teaching and starting with POD in this merch atmosphere is there's no upfront cost. You get to leverage everything above for free and get to really earn as you learn. So instead of doing other parts of the business, either wholesale, OA, RA, where you have to put some money up front and have a lot of research and then put faith into what you're buying that won't everybody else buy the same exact thing, you can make multiple listings and really test out the market for free and earn, like I said, to learn just how to make listings. That's, I think, a huge part of selling online is just the understanding of how to get your products in front of customers. So my name is Steven. I am the one on the left.
And my name is Nate. I'm the brother on the right, the little bit better looking brother, even though we're similar.
Oh, okay.
Mama tells me I'm her favorite, so I'm going to claim that
This
here.
is true. This isn't even a joke anymore. This hurts. And the fact that Mom lives with me now doesn't make sense.
Yeah, she used to try to hide it, but as we've gotten older, she's like, no, it's definitely my favorite. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mom. But I'm just ecstatic tonight as we're about to teach all of this information to you guys that we've really been refining over the last 2 years. And it's not like we've been in like some secret lab, trying to come up with the best scheme and words to use for things. Really, we've just been helping people. And I think our passion for helping people has allowed us to see what visual aids can we best use to explain ideas, what's the type of wording that we should be using, even the way that we have created this presentation. We hope that it does a good job of explaining the process that we have created to systemize merch and really, be able to find success. And that's our hope for you guys tonight. So, as we go through this, if there's any questions that you have, we want you, and we're going to show you ways to connect with us, be part of our community, feel like you have a support team behind you, because we really do believe in this, information that we're going to show and this, strategy that we've made for you guys to follow. We hope that, we kind of have a bigger plan. We want a bunch of people to do business with. We really love, working online, but sometimes it can feel lonely. So we wanted to create a place where not only can you learn how to sell online, but you can also feel comfortable and confident coming to us with whatever questions that you have. That's something that me and Steven wish that we had, several years ago when we started this thing. And so if we can be the people to kind of curate that culture and just be on the forefront of learning and helping, we're very, very happy, and we just love helping you guys. So to, hype this presentation up a little bit, this is a lot of information that we've learned over the last 2 years of really teaching almost full-time, if not a little bit more than full-time at some point. But, this is information that we believe is, as streamlined as possible, but we have kind of put, our heart and soul into showing you guys how to have success with print on demand.
Yeah, and like Nathaniel said, this was not the terminology that we started out with. There was a long period of time that we were working back to back in a non-AC in Florida position of just trying to just discover what worked and what didn't work. And then I think through refining it, through helping people, is how this terminology came to be. But our wingman strategy is it's all about the customers. This is something that was like the underlining factor through helping people and having our business, being able to scale our business and really having it catapult at certain points. We just understood that, this is different than a lot of other ways that we've sold before. Me selling 15 years online, it was the first time where it clicked, where it's like, if we think about the customer first, everything else becomes easier as we go through this process. So first part of this wingman strategy is discover. Then we talk about understand, and then we talk about serve. And that's all for the customer. So you're going to discover the customer, you're going to understand the customer, and you're going to serve the customer. So breaking down this presentation tonight, we're going to be finding your customer. I'm going to show you ways to leverage Amazon to help you. There's a lot of great tools out there, but for POD and especially merch, you don't need any paid tools to get started. There's a ton of great free tools. Nathaniel's actually going to show you some, I think, his favorite free tool. I'm going to show you some ways to avoid competition. I'm also going to try to break down keywords and kind of demystify them. I'm going to show you how to gather them, how to do some simple trademark checking on them. And then Nathaniel's going to show you some designing styles using his favorite free tool. And then we're going to show you how to create the merch listing. So this is going to be a pack full presentation. Hang in there. This is probably going to go long. Just giving you the heads up from now. So to start this discovery process, this is where you're going to be identifying your customer. This is really the place where you're going to want to start. You're just picking something. We used to shotgun a ton of ideas and learn that it's almost impossible to scale a business without some kind of system. So we found that if you start with a customer in mind, it makes everything else in a system much easier, and you can start seeing patterns. Is truly what happened for us to make this whole thing easier and being able to, for us to hand this business off to other people so that we can focus on the business instead of working in the business. So tips for identifying your customers. You kind of want to think of your customers and what they like. So what their hobbies, their passions, their likes, their interest. These are things that you want to I guess, conceptually think about when you're trying to identify your customer. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks as we go through. I'll even be doing some over the shoulder to kind of help you with this process. I know it's a little weird to start, but these are the things that you want to be thinking about to start.
And here's your first free pun of the night. Above all of those things, we want you to use things you have knowledge of. So if you don't know your customer, you can almost treat yourself as a customer. And it actually makes the process a little bit easier, at least the first time that you're going through, to pick things that are your hobbies, your passions, your likes or interests, because you're going to have a leg up on the competition who might be selling in that area and not know, the types of sayings or colors or designs that someone like you who has that certain hobby would enjoy. So that's just something to think about when you're starting off as your own personal hobbies, passions, likes, and interests.
So the first thing you're going to need is a place to begin. And we consider this starting point your seed keywords. What you're going to try to do here is see what keywords your customers identify with. And another way of thinking about this is just like what keywords might your customers be using to find the product. So if they're shirts, if they're tank tops, if they're hoodies, what keywords would they might be searching along with the product word? Those are things that you can start just thinking about and start making a list of those type of keywords.
And as someone who probably gets overly attached to my ideas at some point, I just want to remind you guys that this is where you're starting as this little seed. If you can click on that next slide. So you're starting here. This is your baby little seed that you're planting. You might have to plant multiple of these little seeds before one of them starts to sprout roots and grow. And just don't get too attached to this idea. We're just trying to do some initial research to get us started here.
Yeah, and I just want to add this little caveat too. You're going to want to start thinking of a way to kind of keep track of these. So I love like the Excel documents or Google Sheets. That's what my preferred method. If you like using the actual documents, or actually like my mother, pen and pencil, write everything down, which seems like barbaric now, just because we've done so much stuff with the internet. But you're going to want to find a process. This should be like the first step in building your process, is a way to track the keywords. We're going to kind of show you how to do some trademark check on it. But the more seed keywords that you have, the easier the rest of these processes will go. You're going to need to start doing research. The more seed keywords you start with, the easier the research process is. So an example of some seed keywords for this presentation, we're going to be thinking about the customers that like cars. That's going to be our go-to through this presentation. So if your customer are people that like cars, cars could possibly be your first seed keyword, but you're going to want to gather some more seed keywords. So automotive is another one, drifting, racing, mechanic, gearhead. These are additional keywords that car customers or people that like cars might be using. And we'll be doing the over the shoulder, and I'll show you kind of how I'm gathering these keywords, or at least ways to have Amazon help you and other bigger companies that have search algorithms that you can tap into to aid you in this process.
Stephen's touched a little bit on doing trademark and just said that you need to do trademark and have a tool for it. And this is that tool, is Tangent Test. I guess I should say this isn't our tool, but this is the tool that we use and is very near and dear to my heart because it speeds up our process. And I'm all about speeding things up. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is that website, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. This is, the database that lets us know what is trademarked and what's not, but it's a little bit cumbersome to use. So at the top of the page, you can kind of see this blue area, and this is Tangent. When you go and download this Google Chrome extension, this is where it's going to sit on the actual website itself, and it just gives us an easier way to search their database with this very simple search bar and a few different options. So if you're looking for this, that's their logo in the bottom right. If you're looking for it on Google Chrome Store, and we are going to show this off. We're going to show examples of how to use this and a few ways like activate it and speed things up. But just know that this is the tool that we are using to check trademarks.
Yeah, I just, again, want to point out that this tool is free. This is another reason why I kind of love teaching in this POD space, especially with merch. A lot of this stuff that you use, a lot of the tools that we will be showing at least, are free to use. So I know starting with the customer in mind might be a new way of thinking about this business or kind of any business, but I don't want anybody to get stuck here. the more that you do this, the better you'll be at it, and you'll be able to add this into your process of doing research. I have up here, practice makes perfect. This is something that we have done. I mean, I've been doing research online for at least 15 years and just having a better understanding of how things work and how the companies use their search algorithms and the search bar. But in time, the more you do research, the better you'll get at it and the more comfortable you'll get at it to be able to get the information that you need. So I know coming out the gate, I don't want anybody to get stuck. I love data. That's really my side of this business. We really want to help you guys with research. So we've actually made a tool, another free tool for you guys to use. I'll be showing that a little bit later. But I want to show you how to use Amazon, leverage Amazon to help you find customer ideas and seed keywords. And I also want to show you how to use Google. Just ways to search and kind of get information from Google, because you're trying to find what customers are using by going and searching what those customers might be looking for is another great way to kind of tap into and find those seed keywords.
And just to real quickly touch on that subtitle that you had there, practice makes perfect. We are asking you guys a little bit to trust our process and trust our system. There might feel like places where you're getting stuck, you're just very confused, but if you do the best you can and kind of push through, it might help to see, for yourself as you're doing this process, to see how everything works together. So it is just practicing this whole system in its entirety to make, your system better. Perfect maybe is a little bit of a you definitely practice and make things better.
Yeah, maybe I should change it to say something else.
Practice makes better.
So as we do this over the shoulder, and anytime we kind of break out and do any of these over the shoulders, I'm just going to have here like what we're going to be covering. I'm going to be showing Amazon. I'm going to be showing Google. I'm also going to be showing tangent test. This is not the only over the shoulder that we're going to do, but anytime we do these over the shoulders, I just want to have like a little preference so people kind of know what's coming. So it's not like a ton of information is being thrown at you and like, I don't know what they're talking about. They're all over the place. This is our attempt to help people follow us down this rabbit trail. So I'm going to start on Amazon. And what I'm trying to do on Amazon is use Amazon to help me find customers and possibly some seed keywords. So I've talked about this quite a bit in other places, but if you search t-shirts on Amazon, it's not going to be extremely helpful because most of what Amazon's going to show you are just blank t-shirts. What they're showing you is like the most popular product that people type in that initial word are looking for. Because I've been doing a ton of research over the life of selling online and helping a lot of people, you're starting to pick up like different tricks. I call them magic words, but it's just things that you're going to start noticing as you do research to help you use Amazon in a way that's going to provide you the information that you're looking for. So I know funny is probably the most overused word inside merch. So if I type in funny t-shirts and hit enter, Amazon's going to start showing me the type of t-shirts that I'm going to be making, not just blank t-shirts, but shirts with something on them. And then I'm going to be looking at the results page and seeing what are these shirts geared towards? Who are the customers that they're going after? And what words, keywords are they using that I could possibly pull and also use as seed keywords to do my own initial research? So as I'm scrolling down this page, because I'm so heavy into data and analytics, I'm just looking at the actual titles. I know that Daniel, if he was doing this, he's looking at the actual image on the shirt, but I'm not gonna let him talk now because he can talk for probably 2 hours after I start talking. So I'm gonna take over and just say, I'm really just looking at the title. So as I scroll through here, I can see Crazy Dog. My assumption is that's probably the brand because it says something completely different on the shirt, but I'm looking for possible words that will help me identify customers that they're going after. So humor is a large customer base. So if you're going after humor type shirts, funny might be a keyword, but there's not too much here right in this title. So I'm just going to go to the next one. Champion, Bigfoot. Bigfoot is possibly a customer base that we might want to go after. And you can see this hide and seek champion. These might be additional seed keywords that we might want to use in our listing. I don't really see anything here, but here's like the Christian customer base. You can see Jesus is possibly seed keyword that we want to use. This catch up might be a funny additional seed keyword that we might want to use with this Christian customer base. And then you can see sarcastic. This might be another customer base. And then we're just looking for this where it says novelty. Music is additional customer base. And then here for show, here's Vietnamese. That might be the customer base, or it might be cuisine. And even inside that, you can see Vietnamese, Vietnam, foodie, chef, cook. These are just additional customers that we can start going after and some seed keywords. So I wouldn't say pick all of these, but I would say, hey, pick one of these shirts. And if this is the one that you're going to use, okay, now I'm going to start with a customer in mind. And Vietnamese is going to be the customer that I start with. I'm already able to look at this listing because Amazon said it's very popular because I typed in the word funny and shirt, and know that, hey, Vietnamese customers are probably into food. Here's a ton of seed keywords right here that I can grab and start going after these customers.
So I know we talked a little bit about using your own personal knowledge, and that's definitely one way to start. And we're just showing you another way that you can start finding these seed keywords. But this doesn't mean, okay, now we found a place to make our own design and all that. We're still going to qualify these seed keywords, and they have to grow a little bit before we're ready to commit to them and put our own products there. So just again, giving a little bit of perspective of where we're at.
Yeah, we're just in the beginning. So if that Vietnamese one was the shirt that I'm looking for and food was something that I was going to start with because I see that's my seed keyword, you can type in food, t-shirt, and then do the same thing. You'll just be looking at the titles and then start pulling some seed keywords from whatever Amazon shows. But I want to show another way of doing this, and it's on Google. And just by doing a little bit of clever searching, you can start leveraging Google to help you find those seed keywords. So it might be a little difficult if you have no customer in mind to go to Google and start pulling seed keywords. But if you have a customer in mind, and for this presentation, we're using car. So for me, I would search something like words to describe, I can't like talk and type at the same time, a person that likes cars. And then you can see Google is showing you other additional seed keywords or words that people that like cars might be using. So torque master, rubber lover, drifters, motorhead. There's a whole list here if you click on it. If you scroll down and even look at other possible websites, they're going to have even more seed keywords for you. Again, this is just a place to start. You just want to gather as many seed keywords as you can so that it makes the research process a little bit easier. But I know before we start adding any of the seed keywords to our list, we want to do some trademark checking. Is that what you're going to start?
Yeah, definitely talk about trademark checking here, but also just a reminder that you're taking these seed keywords and you're going to bring them back to Amazon. So we're just using Google for that initial search, but we will be using Amazon to actually qualify if these are words that we want to go further with. But yes, trademark is a great segue or a great thing to talk about next. And if you want to show off how you can quickly and easily, once you have Tangent Test installed, you can just right click on something that you've highlighted. And then in your drop down menu, there will actually be Tangent Test search. Excuse me, I was choking while I was muted on the mic a second.
So this is what's auto-selected. This is the actual tool. Like Nathaniel said, it sits on top of this USPTO site. We want to do the exact match. And because we're going after clothing, we want to make sure that is selected. It auto-completes, or I shouldn't say it auto-completes. It fills in whatever you highlighted here so that you can just hit search. And if you see this, that there's no record of anything, that is a clean, I don't know exactly how to say this. It's a safe keyword to use in your listing.
Yeah, there are no trademarks currently out for whatever you typed in.
So we'll do another one. We'll do this torque master. And again, these are already auto-selected. I'm just going to hit search. This might be another thing that you run into. If you see that it comes up with something, then you can look down here in these goods and services. And because we're doing clothing, we want to make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's trademark. So if you look here and see, okay, they're saying that it's material, fasteners, nuts and bolts, and washers. There's nothing here about clothing. So Torque Master would be safe for us to use even though there is a trademark, it's not a trademark on clothes necessarily. And
Yeah, and this is a very quick look at
yes.
This system, their search engine, how to actually pull apart all the technical terms here. We have training and we are knowledgeable a little bit on this, but we actually, we are not trademark lawyers or anything like that. So we have some people in our community that can help answer some questions that you may have. And again, at the end of this presentation, we're going to show you a way to join us in some of those communities and get the questions asked or answered rather, that you might have about this page when going after specific trademarks. But we're not going to try and dig in and show you guys every single thing about this website right here, because it is a little bit robust and it takes some time to understand that tool fully.
Yeah, and trademark as a whole is a deep topic. So if you are looking for that or have questions, definitely reach out to us. But after we've identified, or I should say after you guys have identified your customers and are starting to gather some of your keywords, it's time to start looking for places that you want to compete. Because merch has so many great benefits that we covered in the beginning, there's a lot of competition. If you want to have success with merch, we strongly suggest to avoid high competitive areas. So like this picture is showing, where the fishbowl on the left has a lot of fish in it and the fishbowl on the right has no other additional fish in it. You want to be that fish jumping from that very crowded fishbowl over to the open waters where there's still water. You can still survive because there's water over there, but there's not a ton of competition that you have to fight. So if there's food dropped in the bowl, if there's people actually looking, you'll be the only one there, or one of very few. Another way to look at this is just, I guess from helping so many people, this is what we've learned. There's very different levels of traffic and competition. Amazon is the only one that truly knows the number of traffic and competition. No matter what tool or anybody says, Amazon has that as a very closely guarded secret. That's kind of their bread and butter. They're, I think, truly a data company more than anything. They take all that information. I think the Alexis being in people's homes, they're just like taking a ton of information and data and learning from that. So we don't necessarily know the true numbers of traffic, but we can kind of get a glimpse into competition. So just like the pictures are showing, you want to be able to find your sweet spot. You don't want to be in the high traffic, high competitive places to start, because it's going to be very difficult to get any sales. And you definitely don't want to be a place on the right where there's no traffic and no competition, because there's nobody looking for products in the desert. So we kind of think of these as two far ends of the spectrum. And then the thing that connects them, we want to kind of be somewhere in the middle. This is not an exact science, but what we're looking for is the medium traffic, low competition spots. What we've done to kind of help us find these places is come up with some validation steps. And we call this the Wingman 5-step test. What this is we want to see things that autocomplete. We want to see top 10 products match the product that we are attempting to sell. We want to see less than 1,000 results. We want to see 8 out of the top 10 have a BSR, and we want to see at least 2 of them be under 1 million BSR.
Don't think that we're just skipping over that 5-step test. We're going to hammer that home over the next couple of slides here. But this is kind of the backbone of what we've built a lot of our success off of, and we think this is what gives us a leg up on everyone else doing merch by Amazon, and even selling on Amazon kind of in general, as we understand that we have a way to identify where it's worth putting our time and effort to make a design and where it's worth just moving past some of those areas. So I'm going to go back through each one of those steps and
that went a little fast, sorry.
my well, we're going to touch on it a lot here, but I'm going to give my 2 cents of why each one of these rules are so important. And again, just remembering that this is over a very long period of time that we came up with these rules. It's not just something, last night that we threw together. This is still what we're using in our personal business and what we've seen many others use to great success. So this first step is autofill. And if you guys don't quite understand that, that is when we go to the Amazon search bar and start typing in something. If Amazon is auto-completing whatever we're about to type in, that usually means that they've seen enough other customers going there and typing in that exact saying. They're good at guessing, but they're probably not as good as just like coming up with something out of thin air. So that means that there's other people in the world typing in that exact saying and probably purchasing shirts there. We have the rest of the rules to kind of tell us that, but it just represents that customers are actually typing in those exact same keywords. So that's a really big deal. When we first started off, we called this the one-step test because after we figured that out, we were like, yes, this is all we need to do is make sure that autofills and we're good to go. But we have learned over the years that, you know, there's a few more steps that can increase our chances of having success. So that next rule is that the top 10 listings are all shirts or similar products now that we have the ability to sell on multiple products. And that's letting us know that we are selling against similar products. This is very important because we don't want to be putting our t-shirts, our hoodies, and other, you know, apparel against like dog toys or swimsuits in the summer, something that might be outselling us a lot. And that means that the customers that are going there don't have an exact image or, you know, looking for our type of product. So we don't want to just kind of throw it out there with a bunch of other products and a bunch of other things. We want to make sure that the customers typing in our keywords are looking to buy apparel and they're looking for our types of designs. So again, to get away from some of that customers or competition, I should say, we're looking at less than 1,000 results. And in the next slide, we're going to show you exactly where to look to see how many results are on the page. But this is important because we want to go against less competition. We don't want to be, you know, in that big marketplace, like screaming at the top of our lungs for people to look at us. We want to be around, you know, not as much competition. And so under 1,000 results has been a good indicator for us that's where we can compete. And these rules have changed over time, and we're not saying that these are like, you know, set in stone, you have to follow these exactly, but these are kind of our guidelines. And again, just helping all the people that we've helped, gathering all the knowledge that we have. Under 1,000 results is where we're seeing lots of people have success. The fourth step that we're going to look at is 8 out of the top 10 have a BSR. If you're new to selling on Amazon, BSR might be a new term to you, but that just stands for best sellers rank. And that's a way for Amazon to rank all their products. We're not going to get into the exact theory of how they're doing that, but we just want to be able to look at those BSRs and see that 8 out of the top 10 have a BSR because that represents that they have actually sold in the past. And if we're seeing a high percentage of the listings on that landing page or that results page before it's a landing page have had sales, that's a good indication for us that we want to put a shirt there, or we want to put some energy into this results page to make sure you know, it's a good place for us to spend our energy. So the fifth step kind of builds off of that, and we want to see that 2 out of the top 10 are less than 1 million BSR. So 2 out of the top 10 listings that do have BSRs, at least 8 out of the top 10 have BSRs, and 2 out of the top 10 are less than 1 million BSR, because this means in our eyes that there are monthly sales happening. Again, there's not an exact science that we have to follow BSRs, but we know about under 1 million or under 1 million is a sale per month. And so we want to be putting our shirts in places that fulfill all the other rules, but that are definitely selling monthly, because that's kind of our goal, is to have monthly sales. So we're not done talking about this quite yet. We're going to run through each one of those steps and show you visually on the page. And Stephen, yes, you can take the reins on this.
We've done this a lot, and we've done this over the shoulder, and sometimes it's a little difficult for people to follow us. So we just wanted to break this out in an actual slide and highlight the pieces so that when we talk about them, you kind of know where to look. So when we say autofill, we're really looking at the search bar. When we start typing in anything, you're going to see Amazon kind of start suggesting things that might be searched. So when we start typing them in and we find something that autofills, this is where we're looking. We're looking at that search bar. The next thing we kind of look at is we kind of look at the whole page, and we want to be able to see the top 10 listings and what they are. And like Nathaniel pointed out, we don't necessarily want to be selling against things that are going to sell a lot faster than shirts, because your shirt might actually show up for a day or two, but then because so many other products are outselling it, your shirt is going to quickly jump to page 2, 3, 4, and then fall off, and nobody's going to be able to find those shirts. So we want to go up against like-kind competition, because if we are selling shirts, we want to go up against other shirts, or if we're selling hoodies or whatever else, we want to make sure that we're competing in a space that we have a fair playing field to be competing in. Next thing we're doing is the competition, and that's the results. High left on the page where it says 892, that's where you're going to be able to see less than 1,000. Amazon currently is doing some very funny results showing. So on the very first page, they might show that it's less than 1,000, but if you click in deeper in the pages, you'll start seeing it jump up. We are still concerned with that very first page because we see that Amazon says, hey, on this page, the customers that are going here, there's really only 800 other competitors that we think these customers might possibly look for. If a customer does go down and start searching deeper into those pages, I believe Amazon, just like a kid that's screaming and looking for the product, they're going to start putting more and more products in front of that customer. So they'll show that there's 892 and they start clicking deeper in. They're going to say, hey, maybe they don't want shirts. Maybe they want an actual car part. Maybe they want something else that has something to do with any one of these keywords. So now they're going to start throwing all kinds of results at those customers that are willing to go deeper into those pages. The next thing we're doing is just 8 out of the top 10. There's a tool for this that we use, again, that it's free, DS Quick View. I'll be showing that tool and how we use it. This just helps us see the BSR without having to click into each individual link, or I should say listing. Those come up on the page. As you can see, all of these have a BSR so that we'll say, okay, yes, this is a place that we want to spend some more time and possibly get a shirt to show up here. Next, we want to see at least 2 of them under 1 million. As you look at the BSRs, there's actually more that are less than 1 million, but we, for us, want to see at least 2 under 1 million because that means that if we do get a shirt here, we might be able to sell that shirt more than once a month. All these rules are just guidelines. They're not a law. They don't have to be followed to the T, but they are things that we've been able to help people with find success. So instead of going here and none of these shirts are selling, then spending a lot of time to get shirts up, and think of that desert where you're selling shirts or at least listing shirts where nobody's really looking, or vice versa, where there's just way too much competition. So in the results, you'll see 100,000 or 10,000. It's going to be very difficult to get your product seen in those places. So this is like a happy medium. So as we do the over the shoulder now, I'm going to be showing off the Amazon search bar, how we kind of use it to help us get away from competition. We call this process niching down. And I'm also going to show the tool DS Quick View. I'm going to pull Amazon back up.
And again, I just want to point out there are a lot of tools out there. You might even own some of them for other businesses that you're doing that concern Amazon, but you can do this 100% for free. And we don't suggest buying those tools specifically just to do print-on-demand research because Stephen owns all of those tools and knows how to use them pretty well. And we still just use the search bar when we're doing print-on-demand research and DS Quick View, but that's just kind of a free add-on to save us a little bit of time. So there is a lot of power just in this little search bar up there at the top.
Yeah, so in this example, like I said, we're going to be going after the car customers. Car is a seed keyword that we want to start with. So we'll put car as our seed keyword and then t-shirt because that's the type of product that we're selling. Now, if you're selling hoodies or anything else, you can put that product here. We always suggest people start with shirts because it's just the easiest thing to kind of understand and get into. And then once you start understanding the market or understanding your customers, then you can know, hey, do these car customers prefer hoodies? Do they prefer the tank tops? Like that will be something that you can test. And because this is POD, you get to test all that stuff for free, which is another reason why we love telling people about POD. But the first thing we're doing when we type in car shirt or the customer seed keyword that we're starting with is the amount of results. This already, we want to start looking for ways to niche down. I'm going to show you tonight 2 different ways to do this. There are a lot of different ways to do this. And like Nathaniel said, there are a lot of different tools that can help you with this. But I want to show you 2 free ways to do this that I think are very beneficial, especially if you're just getting started, and that are pretty quick to use to get away from a ton of competition. The first one I'm going to show you is just by scrolling down and looking at the page. And again, what I'm mostly looking for is the actual keywords. This part is going to be maybe a little difficult when you're first starting off, but you want to kind of stay away from trademarked terms. So I'm hovering over where it says Disney Boys. I guess if you don't know anything about trademark, but you know Disney is a huge company, anything that you can say that word is probably owned by another company, those are keywords that you want to stay away from. So I won't be looking at this listing or this title for any additional keywords because I already know that the thing that's probably driving traffic to here is this Disney Boys Cars 3 keywords. Those are not really keywords that I want to be using or any kind of thing that I want to start niching down. Like I don't want to start going after Disney customers that are buying car things because I know Disney is going to be a problem as I niche down. So I'm avoiding those keywords. And another thing that I'm looking for is any kind of pattern in these keywords. So I can start see America, muscle. Those are the type of keywords that I'm looking for. So as I'm scrolling down, I'm just trying to look at the page. Again, this is probably a Disney problematic keyword, but classic. I saw classic again. So as I'm scrolling through this, I can see these are classic cars again. Classic is the word that kind of sticks out to me to get away from all the Disney stuff. So as I scroll down, classic is the keyword that stands out to me. I'm going to go back to...
I just wanted to take a second and remind you guys, like, this is one of the reasons that we say it's very good to start with things that you have knowledge of. If you are a car person, you probably have heard of the Disney movie cars, maybe not, but I think there's a higher chance, if this is something you're passionate about, if this is your hobby, that you're going to know some of the things that might be trademarked or stick out. And we're not trying to tell you this stuff to like scare you into, not doing this process, but we're showing you guys, that you're just going to build upon your knowledge inside of this business. Now, you can run trademark check on all of these keywords if you wish, but it's not the greatest use of your time. So starting with something that you have knowledge of, that you might enjoy, and not only makes the research maybe a little bit fun at times, as an art person, it kind of hurts me to say doing research can be fun, but it's just gonna, again, give you that leg up on competition. You don't have to spend time going after Ford because you know that Ford is trademarked just by looking at it.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, I saw classic here. So I guess maybe I should have done a slightly better job of like looking at each one of these words, but I just know as we scroll down the page, a lot of it was Disney, and classic was the word that I saw. Oh, a few people are using classic. So I want to go back to the search bar and type in classic. And what I'm looking for is Amazon to auto-complete this. So as we can see here, classic car t-shirt autocomplete. So I'm going to click on that. So this is allowing me to avoid competition, but there's still a lot more than 1,000 competitors. So you can do this process again and scroll down the page and find another keyword to go back up here and type that in and start niching down that way. Something that we've found, and this changes quite a bit. How Amazon allows people to use the search bar changes. So this is why I'm showing you two different ways of doing it. Scrolling through the page is a little bit more consistent because it doesn't rely on how Amazon's algorithm is currently working or how their search bar is showing results. But this way is a quick way to get away from a lot of competition. If you just type in a letter, if you go classic cars t-shirt and then hit space and then a letter, and I'll start with A, it should autocomplete. Oh, and it didn't. And this is why we say, okay, perfect. If it doesn't show that, more ways of doing this is just by scrolling down the page and looking for things that are patterns that you can see.
And this is exactly why Stephen built two ways into this presentation to show you guys just in case one of them doesn't work. But that is kind of, working with Amazon. Sometimes things change and we don't want you guys to get frustrated with it. Just know that, you can get in community with us and ask us these problems when you run into them. We've been doing this for quite a while and we probably know some workarounds or different ways to doing things.
Yeah, so as I'm scrolling down, I can see this. I'm not old, I'm a classic. I'm not old, I'm a classic. So I'm going to delete out this because Amazon's not working with me and type in I'm not old, I'm a classic. And I'm going to try to stay away from years just for right now in this example. All of these, though, are good results pages to look at and see what comes up. But I want to find things that are auto-completing with the word shirt in them for this example, but you can actually go and just type in any of these, like I am old and I'm vintage. This will probably be mostly shirts on this page. And as you can see, we're already getting away from a ton of competition. So using Amazon search bar is not always the easiest thing to do. And I really wish that now it's working a little bit. Putting a word at the end should provide you with additional autocompletes to make this process a little bit easier to find more results pages that pass, at least autocomplete. So what we're doing now is like looking at the page. We want to see at least the top 10 products are mostly shirts. There's socks here, but this is actually a sponsored ad. But most of the products here that are organically showing up are t-shirts. Now, the next thing we're doing after we see it autocompletes, after we see that it's mostly t-shirts, we look at the results page. This is under 1,000. Now we're just looking at the actual BSRs. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is DS Quick View. Sorry, I don't think I pointed that out. But because we have on DS Quick View, we're able to see the BSRs without actually having to click into the listing. DS Quick View is a free tool. But even if you don't want to use that free tool, you can manually go through and click on each individual listing, scroll down, and see if the shirt has a BSR or not. So this actually passed the 4th step, which is, do 8 out of the top 10 have a BSR? The answer is yes, and at least 2 of these are under 1 million. So this is an Amazon's results page. After it passes our 5-step test, we consider that a landing zone, a place that we want our shirt to land and show up. That's why we call them landing zones. So that's one way of doing it. I really want to show this Amazon auto-completing with a letter at the end. If you're gathering more seed keywords, racing is another seed keyword that we have. So I'm going to put racing shirt. I'm going to start with Q. Maybe that'll work. Okay, so this sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes it's a little more forgiving. And if you put Q in, it'll show up like 7 or 8. Sometimes it's very limiting. But if you do hit space and hit a letter, it should, in theory, as long as this doesn't change again, give you some other results. So if we go to quad racing, going up and hitting a letter is just an easier way to avoid a lot of competition because Amazon's kind of guiding you through this process. They're saying, hey, most people or some people that type in racing also go after quad racing and they spell it this way and go after it. And then this is the autocomplete that we're looking for. Again, we immediately get away from a ton of competition. Now we just want to see, hey, is it mostly shirts on this page? And as we can see, the top 10 are all shirts. And the next thing we're looking at is BSRs. Again, we don't really count these sponsored ads depending on what's showing up because why we don't count sponsored ads? Because they change so rapidly. It's very difficult to determine if a landing zone is good or not off of a listing that could be there 1 minute and then you check later tonight, or even somebody else does this same exact search on your computer, you might see different sponsored ads. It's very difficult to be consistent by counting sponsored ads. So we'll skip the sponsored ads and we'll go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Most of these have a BSR. I think at least one of these was under 1 million. One of them had no rank. This is considered sometimes under 1 million, sometimes not. The way I view these non-ranked is that this might be a gap that I can show up. Because this doesn't have a BSR and it's showing up in the top 10, this might be a place that if I do a good job of creating a listing, my listing can come up here in the top 10 without actually having any sales. And if you sold on Amazon at any point, that is a very unique situation to be in, to make a brand new listing with no BSR and show up in the top 10 organically without running any ads. So I would say this is 8 out of the top 10 have less than 1 million.
I'm not going to
be careful.
Skip over that so quickly. Okay. Even as someone who's very passionate about art and as he started this business, thought it was my awesome designs that were selling my this is truly a keyword-driven business. Yes, we are selling designs on t-shirts, but if you don't understand the keyword aspect of this business, you're going to have a very hard time. So again, seeing that little gap is a glimpse of hope for us. As brand new people coming and putting up a listing here, we actually have a chance to rank on the top of this page for these keywords just because we followed this 5-step test and we're going to use these keywords in our personal listing. It's incredible that we have the opportunity to do that. We get to put our product exactly where other people have put their products and they're actually having sales. And we can do that just because, again, we have knowledge of the keywords, the same knowledge that you guys now possessed after watching us talk about, landing zones for whatever, 10, 15 minutes here. That's, if you follow those steps, if you follow our 5-step test, you can use these keywords to such a huge benefit for yourself and to understand this print-on-demand space and how to get your t-shirts ranked here. And so that extra little loophole that Stephen just threw at you guys, it's not in our rules. We said those aren't law, but this is something to be aware of. If you see something without a BSR, that doesn't mean, oh, it's not as great of a landing zone. It's actually like, oh, this is even better because now our product could be showing up here with no sales on it.
Yeah, and I want to lean a little bit more on my understanding of how people do searching. Knowing that we've sold a ton of products on merch and done a ton of research, there are more people searching this without the T. So I know T was the one that auto-completed, but if we take the T off, I was just curious to see what that results page looked like. So I took the T off. They're still under 1,000. It's still auto-completed. And I just want to see the BSRs on this page. So again, this is a sponsored ad, but this is not. And then these BSRs actually look a little bit better, not a ton better, but I just want to show that again, like if this is a customer that you understand, you have some knowledge of, you'll be able to start understanding how people are searching, and then having multiple landing zones that are showing very similar products is a great benefit to you, because you can say, hey, customers like actually be searching it with the T more often, or the customers that are searching without the T, those rankings are a little bit better. So I don't want to show up, not that I don't want to show up, I prefer to show up on the landing zone that without the T, because it seems like more customers are going there and buying those products. So these two are under 1 million. So this one for sure passes with the rules that we have set. But the other one that I showed didn't exactly fall in our rules. And like Nathaniel pointed out, those rules are not law. They're just guidelines. If you take a step back and the more that you do this, the more comfortable you get at it, and just be able to build your own process and come up with your own validation steps. This has just been us teaching a whole bunch of people and doing this business for a long time. So we've been able to put rules together. And like Nathaniel said, we didn't just come up with those overnight. Those have been rules that we've lived by in our business currently, in not just in merch, but in a lot of different platforms that we work off of. They're just go-to rules that we keep going back to because they continuously help us find success in this business.
Not to beat you guys up left and right with tips and advice here in this over the shoulder section, but this business is, you can hear Stephen calling back some information that he's learned in the past. As we said at the very beginning, practice makes perfect. We want you guys to keep practicing this stuff, but also a lot of this business is recognizing patterns. So as you're doing research, if you're noticing something happening over and over, just, store that away for later, but notice patterns, is something that I'm going to harp on a lot more when we actually go to making designs, but it's definitely true throughout every part of this process. If you're starting to notice patterns, that's a really good indication, and you should put some more thought and effort to running down, what exactly is going on in those patterns. But we are going to recap this first phase, which is discover, and I'll let Stephen wrap this up for us.
This is really where you're going to be identifying your customer. You're going to be starting with things that you have knowledge of. You're going to be gathering some seed keywords. I really do not want you guys getting stuck here. Thinking about the customers first, I think, was a big aha moment for us. And I think it was one of the first things that catapulted our business to the next level. But it is a very useful tool. If you're thinking about the customer first, gathering those seed keywords, it just makes this process much easier and helps you be able to build a system. You really want to find places to compete. You want to be able to avoid a lot of the competition. You really want to find that sweet spot and find landing zones. We've built this 5-step test to help us validate. And then after a landing zone, a research page, results page passes our 5-step test, we consider that a landing zone. So the next part of our discover, understand, serve strategy is understand. This is really where you are going to start learning about your customer. So I found this picture and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This person that's looking is looking for cars, but there's no true way to get into the mind of your customer. But you can start leveraging Amazon and using Amazon to be able to better understand what those customers are doing and what those customers are looking for. So Nathaniel talked about patterns. This is really what all this section is about, is just identifying those patterns. You want to find the keywords and the designs that your customers are thinking about and looking for.
I was over here on the edge of my seat, ready to give you credit for finding this picture and coming up with this.
I took it. Yeah, I got it. I was like, this is really
I was
good.
going to try and make up for that whole mom comment I made a little bit earlier.
Oh, no. You're on the hook, brother. After this, the business might be done. There might not be no business brothers and business partners no more.
Literally, the tip of my tongue, I was like so ready to give you credit. You're just like, nope. I found it.
So this is just all about reading the landing zones. Finding those landing zones, validating it is a great way to avoid competition. But as we started helping a lot more people, we saw the true power in the landing zones, which was really just like seeing the patterns, understanding the keywords that are being used here and the colors and the designs and all the stuff that Daniel's going to talk about, but just looking and reading the designs page and leveraging Amazon to help you better understand those customers. So before I go any deeper, this is a very frequently asked question to me, is just what are keywords? I know I talked about seed keywords a little bit. I say keywords a whole bunch. I've identified this as being I don't know. I think there's a lot of debate going on inside of the selling community. I think it's because most companies handle words differently and index things and tags and all kinds of algorithms that are being run. And I know Amazon is a huge company and they handle different categories differently. So I think that's why there's so many debates. But because Amazon handles things so much wildly different at different times, I've come up with kind of my own definition. And keywords to me are just the words that customers are using to navigate online. And another reason why you should think about the customer first and then understand the keywords that they're using, because no matter how the algorithms change or the different ways that they'll index, you will have a better understanding of your customers and still be able to get your products in front of those customers if you understand the keywords that they're using. So I like to give an example of this. I talk about brick and mortar versus online stores as just another way to kind of conceptually think about this process and hopefully shine a little bit more light on keywords. So if you think about a brick and mortar, it's a physical store. If I were to ask anybody in your hometown to go to the store and get milk, it's almost like you visualize where that milk is. It's normally in the back of the store. It's normally in the refrigerator. Or if you go to the gas station, you kind of know exactly where that's at. Brick and mortars don't change up all that much. And most brick and mortars are laid out in a similar fashion where they'll put all the produce next to each other. They'll put all the frozen foods together. They put the chips most of the time all together. It's a very common layout for brick and mortars. So you go into the store, everything is very lit. It's bright. You can see everything. You can go and use all of your senses. You can walk up and down the aisles. You can smell, touch, taste, and see physically those products. So even if you don't know exactly where your product is, or I shouldn't say your product, if you don't know where the item is that you want to purchase, you kind of have a vague idea by being in so many stores where that item is. But online, it's very different. There's no way to kind of just like look around in Amazon's warehouse. They don't keep things in the same location. So the only way that you as a customer are able to find anything is by going to the search bar and typing in something. And whatever those things are that you type in, that's what I see as keywords. You want to identify your customers and the keywords that they're using, and then be able to put those words into your listing. And this is a little bit more, I guess, just understanding wise of what is truly going on. I don't know this for a fact, but I've seen a lot of people and I've helped a lot of people with online just understanding. And most of the time when people search for something, just like this example shows, they might type in cat shirt because they think that's what they're looking for, and then realize that, oh, there's 100,000 products here, if not more. None of these are what I want. And even if I start clicking through the pages, I'm not finding exactly what I want. So then the customer goes back, to the search bar. Those additional words that those customers are typing in, that's what we're kind of tapping into when we look for the autocompletes. So if a customer is looking for a funny cat shirt or a mom cat shirt, those additional words are the words that we want to start collecting and better understanding our customer.
Yeah, I really love this visual aid. It was really hard for me. Like I said, I'm not a keyword person. I'm not a data person. So when I first started off and Stephen was trying to hammer home how important keywords were, it wasn't until he told me this exact thing that I understood why he was so passionate about making sure we had the right keywords in there. And so this is, the thing that made it click in my head. So hopefully showing this to you guys, if you are data people, if you are keyword people, maybe you already understood this concept. But for those of us who aren't, I think this very vividly paints a picture of, why it's so crucial that we use that Amazon results bar while we're looking for those things that autofill. All the things in our 5-step test, they are really what's giving us the opportunity to sell our products online instead of just, throwing them in Amazon's warehouse and just hoping that someone finds it like under a shelf when all the lights are turned off, and like the exact opposite of a brick and mortar place.
Yeah, that picture of a desert was pretty much what I was telling Nathaniel what he was doing. I was like, you're making great products, but nobody's looking for these. Like nobody can find the products that you're putting
a chance of even finding them.
So I'm going to pull up the same example that I found, the quad racing, and start showing how to gather some keywords there. But I just wanted to take a second and just, I know not everybody loves research or keywords as much as me, but I really want to show you guys how to find some keywords quickly. And I always suggest, like, the more keywords that you have, the better it is for you, and the easier it is to make listings in the future. But even if you are a little bit more like Nathaniel and you don't like keywords, just understand that, like, try to grab at least 5 or 10 keywords. We've actually built a tool to help people because I have a passion for helping people with keywords, just understand them, be able to use them, because I think in the POD space, like, it is extremely important to know keywords and how to use them so that you can build listings to get your products in front of those customers. As you can see, right under gathering keywords, it says KISS. This is mostly for me. I think anytime I talk about keywords, Nathaniel's always saying KISS. It's, for me, almost stands for Keep It Simple, Steven. Again, I know people struggle with keywords. That's why we've made this tool. That's really what I'm going to show off here, is just how to open up your competitors' listings, looking at the keywords, having Amazon help you see, like, this is where customers are looking, and this is what Amazon identifies with what customers are typing in. These are the listings that most customers are going to be looking for, at least listing-wise, keywords that are going to be coming up. So I'm going to go back to, oh, sorry, one more slide, and then I'm going to show. So in this over the shoulder, I'm going to be showing the landing zone again, and then I'm going to be showing our Wingman keyword tool. And this is free. We will give you the link to actually go and get and use this tool. But it's just sped up our process so much. It was an in-house tool that we were using for a long time. And now that we are, teaching wasn't really in the cards, but now that we're teaching a lot more, we're finding ways to actually get the tools that we are using in-house to you guys to make this process easier. We really want you guys to succeed with POD. I think there's amazing opportunities, and we really want to start helping people with POD, either adding it to your business or making it your main business. And there's a lot of tips and tricks that we can help you with, and we want you to be a part of our community. Oops, that is the wrong one.
Excuse me. I'm a little bit jealous that Steven has his tool. I wish we built the tool that I'm going to show off a little bit later. But I have to say, I have tried and used our tool a lot. And, even for me, it simplifies things. Now, it's, it can do more things than we're going to show tonight necessarily, but it is a great tool that even if you're not a keyword person, we hope that it makes keywords a little bit less scary. At least that's the way I think of it. This tool makes it, like, doable for me to do my own keyword research quickly and efficiently.
Thank you, brother. I know that's like such a struggle for you at the beginning, is the keywords. I'm actually going to turn DS Quick View off. Sorry. It's a little distracting to have all that stuff pop up. Of course.
So to give Steven some more compliments.
Yeah. You're not trying to end this partnership? It's too late, brother. Tonight is this will be the end of Wingman University. You saw it here first, crumbling right before your very eyes. I wonder why they switched up the view of this. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're doing some new cool, funky things.
The information is still the same. What I'm looking for is the titles, and I'm going to be opening up what I think are merch listings, and I guess I'll have you explain how I know they're merch listings in a second. But what I'm attempting to do is see what keywords my competitors are using. So any of those paid tools that you're using, this is what the paid tools are doing. They're going through and either tapping into Amazon's API or actually scraping the page, which they're not really supposed to do, but they're pulling the information from your competitors and then giving you list of keywords. this is just a manual way to do that. And if you're going to be doing this manually, this is why we made the tool, to just speed the process up so that you have a better understanding of what is going on with these listings. So this very first one, we see ATV quad bike. I'm going to open this up. One, because it's a merch listing, and two, it's the most popular one. And then if I know I'm going to be making this type of design with a actual quad bike in it, those are the other listings that I'm going to want to open up. I would suggest the more listings that you can open up, the more keywords that you can pull, the better you're going to be able to make listings, and the more keywords you'll have to pull from and get a better, like 10,000 foot view of what's going on. So I'll just open up probably 3 of these. And then I'll touch on this one right before I let Nathaniel talk. I'll touch on this one because this is not a quad bike like this. So I'm not going to actually open up this listing because these keywords might throw my understanding off. This is, I guess I'm assuming FPV stands for first person view drone racing. This is like a quadcopter. Again, I'm a little guessing here because I don't know. This isn't really my.
It's in the title of the quadcopter. You're right.
Oh, look at that. Nailed it. We're back on. We're 50-50, brother. We do this. You wouldn't be back over. So I wouldn't open up this listing if these are the type of designs that I'm going to go after or try to make. So I would open up these type of listings. Again, I'd skip this one, but I would open this one and just start pulling more of the keywords. But I'm going to have Nathaniel, I guess, just try to explain how I know, or how we know these are merch listings.
Yeah, so 2 things that you did right there. One, you opened up the listing, and I know how you did it, but if you could just explain how you did that very quickly.
Yeah, if you right click and then hit open the listing, or if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, if you click the scroll wheel or any kind of short keys on your mouse, you can actually click that and it'll open up another page automatically. This is something that we do and we're trying to get better at. I apologize for that. Helping my mother, now that she's moved back in with me, she's like, anytime I show her something, she's like, okay, how did you do that? Where did you click? Like, these are the things that I need help with. And I know as we teach, those are the feedbacks that we get. It's like, oh, you went a little too fast here. Like, I was following you up to the point where you like opened that other window. How did you do that so quickly? Is there something that I'm missing? And then it like prevents them from continue to follow the teaching. Like, they get really hung up on that. So anytime I do that, Nathaniel, for sure, point that out to me, and I will try to show what I'm doing as a like right mouse click. So when I'm copying and pasting, I'll probably do that too, because I have a lot of shortcuts on my keyboard and my mouse to speed this process up for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. But just also, like, to do things the way that we're doing them is, can't say, again, it's a perfect system, but we've been doing this so much that we kind of know the most streamlined way. So clicking into that listing, waiting for it to load, and then hitting back and trying to figure out where you're on the page, like, it's much quicker just to open all these listings in new tabs, look at them, and then you can close those tabs out when you're done. So just wanted to point that out. So the other question that Stephen asked me was, how does he know that these are merch listings? And it's by looking at, again, building on this information that we have, looking at patterns. We know that the hero image that's being used here is the same exact product or apparel that gets used every time someone makes a merch listing for that specific product. So yeah, as he's highlighting those, we know that those are the standard and the premium style of shirts for Amazon. Another way that you can tell if you're not sure just by looking at those hero images is if you actually click into the listing, the second image will always be this exact sizing chart. If there's an image on the back, then it will show the image on the back, and then this will be the third image over there on the left-hand side. But this exact sizing chart is Merch by Amazon sizing chart, so that's another way to tell. There's a couple other factors, but those 2 things are the things that you can focus in on. Yeah, like Stephen's highlighting, the first 3 bullets are always going to be the same exact bullets, and the very last one. So there's a few different ways, but you'll get, you know, as you do this business, as you practice, you're going to start to see the pattern that, okay, this exact hero image, yes, they do change the color of it and they'll change the actual graphic on the front, but the product itself is not going to change. And so that's how we can very quickly identify which shirts are merch listings. And I want to point out that this is the only time that we care something is a Merch by Amazon listing. When we're doing a research previously, we don't care if it's a Merch by Amazon listing or if it's a listing made by somebody else, as long as it's still a similar product. But we do care here because Amazon doesn't allow us to hide any keywords. So looking at other merch by Amazon listings that are ranked in areas that we want to be ranked, that are selling in areas that we want to sell in, we get to see exactly what keywords they're using in their listing, and we're going to use that to our advantage. We are not going in here and gouging or stealing their exact titles or their exact bullet points, but we do want to collect this data, and we're going to show, Steven's going to show how to add this information to our tool so we can gather the best view of this landing zone as possible, and how we can use these keywords effectively for our own listing. We're not stealing, but we are looking at the keywords that Amazon has told us, okay, when someone types in this keyword, we're going to show them these type of products. So we want to do our best, use the things that we have at our at our fingertips here, which are these other listings that are ranking, and they don't have a way to hide their keywords from us. So we're going to use that to our advantage.
Yes, leveraging Amazon. So because merch allows you to put anything you want as the brand, and you don't really have to have a brand name, a lot of people in the merch space use this for keywords. So what I'm going to do is just copy the title and the brand, and then I'm going to go to our tool. I'm going to click merch. I'm actually going to paste that here, and then I'm just going to continue to do that. And the more listings that you pull the title, brand, and the 2 bullet points from, the more information that you'll be able to gather, and this tool will be able to help you out more because they're showing how many times this word is being used. So now that I've done this one, I normally just close it out, and then I'll copy the next one, paste that in. It doesn't really matter what order that you're putting any of the stuff in. You just want to be copying copying the words and pasting them on the tool. So again, I'm avoiding the common used words, and because this is a premium shirt, they actually have another bullet point here, but I'm looking for the 2 bullet points that we're able to use. I'm pulling that information, putting it in the tool, and then I'm going to the last listing and doing the same thing, pulling the brand, pulling the title, and then going back in the tool, pasting it, and then I'm just going to take the last bit of the bullet points, do the same thing. So why I've created this tool is because when I'm making listings, I'm normally using a lot of tools to just understand a 10,000 foot view of the landing zone. So by going through and pulling up your competitors and copying and pasting their information, you get a very quick 10,000 foot view of this landing zone as far as the keywords are concerned. This tool allows me to hit this X and then get rid of like common use words or the product word that I already know Amazon's going to put into the listing, and then bring up an additional keyword. So I don't want 2, I don't want 4, you or it, quad, I want racing. This I don't want, this is just the dash. I'm assuming between the T and the shirt, and you can see other people have used this dash just for different things. I don't want that. Mudding, shirt, again, I don't want is this on or just sent apparel, maybe. For who, mud, for, gift. And I'm just looking for one last keyword. Now, this is 10 keywords. The way that we've programmed this tool, you can actually just copy just the keywords without the actual numbers. This is just the amount of times that this word shows up in this space that you dumped all the keywords. You can copy it here also, again with the pairs or the triples. You can export it to an actual CSV file. And then because how I used to show people is dumping all the keywords into an Excel sheet and then removing all the duplicates. That is very time consuming. We made the tool be able to auto take out the duplicates so that you can pull out all the unique words. So you might have the 10, and these might be, if you're like Nathaniel, the only keywords that you need to build a listing, or if you're like me and you want all of the keywords, they're here. Now you might have to go through this a little bit more and fine tune this, but once you pull out the word, it actually goes up here to this excluded word, and then you can see all the words that you excluded. So if you accidentally hit ATV, you go, oh, I kind of wanted that. You can just go back up here and delete it, and it will pop back up with all of the stats. So the last thing I'm going to talk about this tool is it really helps me build listings, because not only can I see the single words, but then I can kind of see the phrases or the triples that we have them, because I didn't have a better word of explaining this, and just see how other people are using those words. So if I know I want to use ATV, riding, quad, racing, and all those, I can look over here and say, oh, people are using it as quad racing men's or racing ATV quad. It just gives me a better understanding of how people are using the keywords, and then I can build my listings from that. But I just wanted to show this tool and show how quickly you can go and pull keywords and be able to use them without getting overwhelmed. Because I used to show people 7 different tools of how to pull the keywords, then sort them, and it just was a very time-consuming process. We built our own tool to kind of help people speed this process up and give you usable information that you can start building listings from.
Yeah, I think we're both very happy with the way this tool worked out, because we could both use this tool, you know, to different amounts, or, you know, how robust it is. But I can use that tool. I can get exactly what I want out of it, which is those top 10 most used keywords. Then I can put those in my listing, and Stephen can do what he likes to do and be a lot more robust with, you know, his research.
Do you want
I was
to?
just going to ask you. Okay. If you want to switch over, I can screen share now. Okay, can you guys see this? Are we good? I guess I'm just asking you, Stephen.
Yes, I can see it.
So this is where this presentation gets more fun for me. I know keywords are very important to this business. I know that they are, as we've said in the past, the bloodline of print on demand. But I enjoy designing, and I think this is maybe the part that scares some people off from doing print on demand, because you think, oh my gosh, I have to make, you know, designs, I have to learn all these design theories and know all these tools and open up Photoshop and do all of these things that takes years and years and years to learn. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is probably not as scary as you think, and I hope to make it actually something that you look forward to doing. If I can teach Stephen, my brother, who is like the most I don't want to do anything with graphic software person I've ever met.
Well, let me just explain why. You opened up Photoshop and showed me all those tools, and then showed me how to use them real quick, and I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna learn that. I definitely don't want to do that. That tool
I gave Stephen a 30-second glance at Photoshop, and he
just opened it up and showed me the tools, and I was like, no, I'm out. I'm good. I'm done. I don't want any of this.
So we are truly just polar opposites in the things that we enjoy, and that's fine. But both of these parts of the business are very important. And keywords, as we've talked about for the last however long we've been doing this, is very important. But I don't want you to think that design is going to be, you know, this other beast that you have to learn how to tame now. Hopefully, I'm going to show you that it can be a kind of straightforward to the point, and we're just looking for patterns. So let me actually get into this thing. And so the first thing I want to talk about is gathering design inspiration and how to target your customers. So I used this picture just because I thought it was kind of funny. This is kind of how I thought of myself selling things online. Like, look at this beautiful art that I made. You want to hang it up on your wall. I'm very proud of it. I'm going to put my face right in front of it. Like, these are all things that went through my head while I was making designs for the internet, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. And the way that now I design is with this theory in mind. Sorry, before we get to my theory, I wanted to just touch on this idea of finding design patterns. So patterns on the landing page, we talked about a little bit on how that's going to help you with the keyword side of things, but also specifically for designs, you don't have to know how to design, you just have to be able to see patterns. That's important to every part of this process, but especially for actually creating your own graphics that are going to be put on shirts. So what we're going to be looking for patterns in is the colors, the images, and the sayings. And I'll explain this when we go over the shoulder and show exactly how I'm pulling out these patterns. And we're going to do that now. Let me pull up. Yes, okay. So we are going to actually look at some of the landing zones here and talk about those three things: the colors, the imagery, and the sayings on each of these landing zones, and how we can compete or if it's worth our time competing here. So on this first landing zone that Stephen talked about, it was classic cars, and this is just another variation of that saying, but we'll talk about classic cars. T-shirt is the landing zone, and it pulls up this type of imagery. So hopefully right off the bat, you start to see some patterns that are developing here. And if we start with color, you can see kind of this yellow, this caution yellow, this very bright in your face highlighter yellow is popular on this page. It's almost the only thing that's working besides just white. And the next thing that we want to be looking at is the imagery, and this caution tape on the top and the bottom every single one of these designs besides this one is using that exact design style. So these are patterns that we're just noticing that we want to start gathering and using for ourselves in our designs. And the last thing that you want to look at is the sayings. And if we look at the sayings, every single one of these is the same. So when we see something like this, we kind of keep that Goldilocks story in the back of our head as we're looking for patterns. And if we're seeing too many patterns of the exact same thing showing up, we kind of think of Goldilocks and saying, okay, there's just way too much of the same thing here. So it's going to be very hard for us to compete, because when a customer comes to Amazon and they type in this exact saying or a keyword phrase up here at the top, it means that, like that image that Stephen found that he's very proud of, they have the exact design and the exact keywords that they want kind of already in their head, and they're just looking for a physical representation of that. And it looks like Amazon's doing a good job of showing their customers this exact image because it's working. Customers are coming here and they're buying these products. I don't have DS Quick View on, but we looked at this landing page beforehand, and we know that all of these shirts are selling, and they're selling pretty well. So customers coming here looking for this exact thing. So it's not worth our time to try to make the exact same saying and throw it out there with all the other shirts that have basically the exact same thing. You can do that, but again, we're trying to value our time here. And we've seen over the past years of us doing this ourselves and teaching that it's not a great use of your time. So keeping that Goldilocks story in mind, we just kind of move past this. Even though it passed the 5-step test, even though we spent the time to find a saved keyword and do all those steps, we're going to move past it at this point because we have identified it as this is the exact thing that customers are looking for. There's no real room for us to come in here, bring something new to market, and get customers for ourselves. So this next landing zone that I'm going to show off is funny car guy shirt, and we're going to scroll down a little bit here and just look at the designs that are on this page. And so again, we're going to be looking for patterns that are happening here. So the first pattern is we're going to look at the colors. So I think pretty clearly we can see that car guys apparently like white images or white designs on black shirts, as that's basically the only thing represented here. And we can see a little bit of red as an accent color. So if we need an accent color, we could use red. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is imagery. We're seeing a lot of just text on the shirt, so that might be a good thing if we don't want to do too much design. But there's also, some other random things like this piston and this tachometer there, the sign that's being put out there, tire marks, and even this gear shifter. So there's no real pattern that we're seeing develop here. It's going to be hard for us to pick out the exact type of imagery we would want to put on our shirt by looking at these designs. So we just want to note that and then move on to the last thing, which is the saying. And so while we see that these two have the I think they're exact same. Yeah, the exact same saying on them. All these other shirts have wildly different sayings on them. So we're not seeing a real clear pattern there either of what these customers are looking for. So what that's telling us is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of that first one, again, keeping that Goldilocks story in mind, that when someone comes to Amazon and they type in funny car guy shirt, they don't exactly know what they're looking for. They're not like the last customer where they have this exact image in their head and they just want to purchase that. They're coming here and kind of browsing and buying a variety of different things. And again, you can see most of these are selling well. So we're getting, reviews on a lot of these shirts, almost all of them, which is impressive. But it's hard for us to identify the exact customer that's coming here. So we can spend our time to make a design. If we're really passionate about this and we want to put a design up here and see how it works with everything else going on, I would suggest keeping it white and red, as that's a pattern that we're seeing. But it's going to be hard for us to identify those customers, and it's going to take us a while to kind of guess the right thing that might work here. So this is kind of the other end of the spectrum on that Goldilocks story. And so the third page that we're going to go to, just like the fairy tale, it always works out perfectly in stages of 3, is going to be quad racing shirt is the landing zone, or sorry, the keyword phrase that was typed in. And we're going to look at this landing zone now and see the types of colors that are being used here, as that's the first pattern that we're going to look for. We're seeing, some yellow, lots of white designs here, but also the American flag, this red, white, and blue. We're seeing that represented 4 times. So I would say that's enough to show us, okay, we probably want to use red, white, blue somewhere in there, or just an all white design. as those are working in this landing zone in particular as well. And like Steven said earlier, this one that's a quad drone racing, we maybe don't look at this one to try to identify patterns because that's a completely different customer. It's kind of just thrown in here. But you know, we don't necessarily want to be taking keywords or noticing what types of patterns are being used here because this is a different customer in mind that's buying this. So the last thing that we're going to look for is sayings, and we want to see if there's any saying patterns here. And while the actual sayings on the shirt, you're not seeing them, you know, repeated or a pattern here, what we can also deduct from that is, oh, there's actually 5 American flag shirts here, is that maybe no saying is actually something that we want to pay attention to. So customers that are coming here aren't necessarily looking for a saying on their shirt. Maybe they just want, you know, somebody riding a quad bike with an American flag behind them, and we're seeing that being represented. I might have skipped over design, but that's the last thing that we're going to look for patterns in. Also is the design elements that are being used here. And every single one of these, again with this exception over here, has somebody riding a quad bike. So we want to make sure that we're including that because we're seeing every one of these shirts has that on there. So when a customer types in quad racing shirt, they might not know exactly what colors they want. They might know exactly the thing they want, but they definitely want somebody riding a quad bike. So that's something we're going to you know, use in our design. So to quickly recap that, I know it's kind of all over the place. The colors we're seeing is white's working, the American flag is working, that red, white, and blue. For icons, we're seeing the quad racer is extremely popular, so we want to key in on that and make sure we're using that in our own design. And then the saying, while we're not seeing, you know, the same exact saying being used all the time, we are seeing that even without a saying that some of these shirts are having success. So it's not necessary for us to put our own saying on these designs. Now, if we were going to use one of these sayings, we could very quickly go up here, right click it, and use our trademark research to check that. But in the next little section, when we actually make a design, I'll show exactly how I'm making the designs. And if you want to do some trademark research, you can do that as well. Anything to add to that before I move on?
No, I think that was good. I think that Goldilocks zone is like a perfect analogy of what we're doing because the research that we're doing will pull up a lot of landing zones that pass, and sometimes just doing an extra step of validating them to see, okay, is the art worth going after? Do I understand what these customers are looking for? And that's why, again, we started with like, start with things that you have knowledge of, because maybe you see car guy and you see a pattern in there that we don't see because we're not that versed in that niche or those customers. And you go, oh, yes, they are maybe look all different to Nathaniel, but you will look at it and say, hey, they're all car parts. And so I know I can put some car parts on there and be black and white and be able to compete in that space. So Nathaniel's just showing you the two extremes. If something is too wide open, it makes it difficult to kind of know what shirts you should be putting up in that landing zone. If something is too tight, it's going to be very difficult for you to stand out and have any success in that landing zone. So you're looking for that something that you can compete on and start seeing patterns. And this will help you speed up your success process so that you go, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I know how to gather keywords. I can see that I can make something that should fit in here. Now let's see if I can have success by making a listing using those bits of information and seeing the patterns in what I'm looking at. But to recap, oh, you can do this.
Okay, so to recap, understand, we've taken, you know, the information that we learned in Discover, and we're now building upon that in Understand, and we're learning about our customers. And we're doing that through leveraging Amazon, reading those landing zone pages, and gathering the keywords. And after we have our keywords gathered, we're looking for design patterns. That's all you have to do. You don't have to come up with abstract ideas or be the greatest artist out there. You're just looking for those patterns in the color, the images, and the sayings. So to move on to phase 3 of our methodology and the way that we do print on demand is serve. And this is where we're going to deliver value to your customers. So the first part of this is creating the art. And my biggest suggestion for anyone who's ready to create their own art is don't be a graphic designer. That might seem kind of counterintuitive, but as a graphic designer who started up this business and was making, taking all day to do one design, it actually kind of bit me in the butt because I wasn't getting enough products to market and I wasn't getting enough research and testing enough things out there. And I was just spending too much time, again, kind of like that last image I showed where I was like, I wanted to put my face in front of this design and say, this is, my life's work. This is what I'm proud to show off, but it's not necessarily the type of art that works on Amazon. So the type of art that we have found, again, after years of selling print on demand ourselves and helping others, is the type of art that works is something that follows my design theory, which is bold, clean, and simple. I hinted towards this a little bit earlier, but now I actually get to talk about it, and that this is what has driven me and made me able to make art for print on demand. Is every time I'm making a design, I want to make sure in my head that I can say, okay, this is bold, it's clean, and it's simple. It's not, something that's going to represent me, something that I want to, hang up in my house and show everyone who comes over. But this is going to be creating designs that emotionally connect with people. And that's really what we're trying to get after. The Amazon customer, people buying shirts online, are just a different customer that might be buying, t-shirts at an art gallery or actual art at an art gallery. So we want to keep that in mind. Again, understanding our customer. So to give some examples of bold, clean, and simple designs, I've pulled these three from that funny shirt landing zone. And I just want to talk about each one of these examples individually and hopefully encourage you guys that you can make these types of designs. So this first one, I paused my game to be here. This is all text. Someone could have actually went, opened up Word, typed in this design, found a way to make it in a .png and put this on a shirt. And if we look at the reviews down here, this has 439 reviews, which is just a ton of reviews for a piece of, for apparel. So this type of thing is working. This is not something that you necessarily want to like hang up in your house or, do all those things with, but this is something that you can wear on your chest. It can emotionally connect with somebody, the person who's buying it, but also somebody walking by could just like look at that, know what it is, and kind of laugh at it, and not, be staring at your chest trying to figure out like what this beautiful piece of artwork that you have, printed on your t-shirt is. So this is a very good example of something that's bold, clean, and simple while being very effective in actually selling online. So this next design is more closely to the way that I design personally, which is not just a text design, but adding some type of graphical element to this. And again, you can see that this hammer, they're using some form of humor here, but the hammer that they're using is not like a super well drawn, high quality piece of artwork. This is just to get the basic shape and concept across, that this is not a drill. And if you even look at the text that they're using, this example and the last example, like these are just very in your face fonts. They're not very pretty, they're not cursive. They're just trying to get this point across so someone can see this design, laugh at it, hopefully they buy it, and it emotionally connects to the person looking at this. But it is not something to, make you, in awe or have your jaw drop when you see this thing. You're just trying to get that point across. This last example is for all of my people out there who say, but I can't even draw a stick figure. And so this person showed you guys up and actually put a stick figure on a t-shirt, used, again, a little bit of humor and said, well, that's not a good sign. And it's a stick person pointing to a bad sign. And this is, again, something that's bold, clean, and simple, very simple in concept, using a little bit of humor, which we know always works well to emotionally attach our designs to people. But if we look at the reviews, we're seeing 188 reviews, so that shirt is selling very well, and people are really happy with it. These are 4-star, 4.5-star reviews, probably 5-star reviews as well, that this person is getting on this bold, clean, and simple design.
Yeah, I just want to stop you here and just go back to that slide. I just want to let everybody know I am definitely not a graphic designer, but once we started seeing what was selling and selling well on Amazon, and this tool that Nathaniel's about to show off, I truly believe anybody can do this business. Even if you're not a graphic designer and if you have no graphic skills like me, just being able to read the landing zone, see the patterns, and be able to put something together that represents the customer and what they like and be able to get that in front of the customer, you can start having success with it. This is so mind-boggling to me that just straight text works. Like, it took me so long to get over that. I just couldn't like wrap my head around why somebody would buy a shirt with just letters on it. But then we saw this example. We've seen hundreds and thousands of these examples where it's just, I pause my game to be here, just like simple words without any graphical element, and they sell very well. Amazon, mostly the customers prefer black with white text. It's not true for all customers, but that's a safer bet. If you go, okay, black shirts, white text, and just a text-based shirt, if you can at least start there, you can start having some success and start earning as you learn, and then start to get better at designing. Nathaniel's going to show you a very quick way of doing this. When he showed me this, that was when I felt confident that I could do this business by myself. And after that comment earlier, I might step out on my own and do this on my own. But I just want to make that point. Like, anybody can do this. You should be able to find the landing zones. You should be able to pull the keywords. You should be able to see the patterns and start making these designs and get listings up. And if you're having any trouble, we truly want to help you. That's why we are here teaching. That's why when Nicole asked us, we jumped at the chance to get in front of more people and just start helping people with this POD business.
Yes, so we are going to actually talk about how can you make competitive designs even with zero money invested in a graphic design software or any background of being interested in creating or even knowing how to draw with a pencil. And you can use this program, which is called Adobe Spark. And so you can get to this program by going to spark.adobe.com, and it is 100% free. You've probably heard, that's probably the word we've used the most in this presentation is free. But we really believe in just being able to start things up and putting your effort into a place where you can start seeing some return on that time investment that you're making, not necessarily putting a bunch of money up front to find success. So we love free stuff. Steven, you can say your saying.
Oh, if it's free, it's for me. That's my go-to line.
So we
say that all the time. Anytime anything is free, I go, oh, it's free? That's for
I
me.
was waiting for you to cut me off. That's why I stumbled over my words. I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it.
Well, I was going to let you finish.
So it is 100% for free, and it's quick and easy to understand how to use. Now, I'm going to show a quick and easy way to make a design, but we are going to talk about a course that we have at the end of this that we're going to give you a discount on to see exactly how I'm using this tool, because it is actually made for social media posts, not exactly what we're doing with it, so you have to kind of know how to manipulate it the way that you want it to, but it allows you to do some pretty incredible things, and so I'm going to show that off right now. So I'm going to take another look at the landing zone, pulling out those patterns that we talked about. I'm going to pull out some very specific ones that I actually want to create a design with inside of Spark. So if I pull back up our landing zone.
Well, give it a second, brother.
This one, the quad.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Just give it a second to load in. You're digitizing.
I got too excited. My internet couldn't handle it.
All right, sorry. Go for it.
You're good. Okay, so we're going to be talking about, again, this landing zone quad racing shirt, and we're going to be pulling out some patterns, the things that I would go after if I were to make a design for this landing zone, which, spoiler alert, I'm about to do. So, like I said, I'm looking for the patterns, and I'm seeing the pattern that is represented the most here is an American flag and with a quad racer on top of it. Now, I know that this red, white, and blue is probably going to work, and we can maybe quickly show you guys how you can switch up the colors. But I'm interested in this one that's all white because it doesn't have as much representation here. So I'm not competing against these other guys who are using that exact color, but I am using a lot of the same pattern, with the American flag, with this quad racer here and the colors, rather than just creating something else that's, a design that's already been made 4 times instead of a design that's only been made once. Does that make sense, or did I just confuse you?
No, it is. You're seeing the patterns as the American flags and the people actually riding the quad bike. So those are the 2 elements that you're going to use. And the fact that there's 4 of them with color on it, you're going to try to get in front of the customers by doing something that's not, like, I guess, played out. I don't know if that's really the right word.
Well, yeah, kind of like that Goldilocks scenario, right? So if I came to this landing zone, I only saw, quad bikes on top of this American flag in red, white, and blue, I would move away from it. So I want to bring something with a kind of a unique perspective while still using some qualities of the things that I'm seeing here. So this is Adobe Spark. If you don't own any graphics software, after you sign up for your account, you are now a proud owner of a way to make designs that can be competitive. And if at this point you're tuning out, please stay with me. This isn't as scary as it might sound, I promise you. And so I'm just going to quickly show you. Remember when we talked about making listings in 5 minutes? This is how we're doing it, and it's specifically because of these icons that are baked inside of this tool. And these icons are purchased by the company that makes this software, which makes a lot of software that I love and is near and dear to my heart, which is Adobe. And what they have done is paid for us to tap into this ginormous library of icons, again, that we get to use 100% for free and that we can use on products that we are selling. So if I go to this icon search bar and I type in quad bike, you can see that it's going to populate with all of these different images specifically for quad bikes, which is super cool. And as I said, at least I hope I said it, I'm looking for someone riding a quad bike. So there's all these great examples of actual quad bikes, but there's 2 examples of someone actually riding a quad bike. And so I like this one. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to pop it right into my artboard, which is sized perfectly for merch by Amazon. You have to make sure that you're getting the right size, which is 4,500 by 5,400. So this is one icon. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. You didn't have to go and start sketching this out by hand. But we are starting to put together our t-shirt graphic. So I'm going to go back into this icon library, and I'm going to search USA flag. And there we go. Here's a bunch of different representations or different takes on the USA flag. And so I'm just going to pick one that I think looks kind of cool, which I think this one looks kind of cool. And I'm going to do a similar design. If I go back to the landing zone, just take inspiration. We can see some of them are horizontal, but we're actually seeing 3 of them vertical. Because this one is horizontal, I'm going to
say that again, brother, because you were breaking up. So just, you are here now on the landing zone.
Yeah, so I came back here just to look for inspiration again, the exact way that I'd want to lay out this design. And because this design, something that we're using more, we're going to create something more similar to this. Because this has the vertical flag in the back, I'm actually going to make my flag vertical and just giving a little bit of variation there. So I'm going to make this vertical. Then just very quickly, I'm going to change the color of this to like a dark gray, similar to what we saw on that landing zone. Move that to the back, bring this to the front. I'm going to make this white so that it looks good on a black shirt. And you'll notice that I'm designing on a black background because I want to make sure that my design looks good on a black shirt, which is the most popular color of garment that actually sells, is a black t-shirt. You probably saw that from the landing zones that we've been going through, but that again is just a pattern that we've noticed, and in our actual sales that's represented as well. So that's it. Hopefully that wasn't too scary. Literally just using the search bar twice, picking some images that we want to put here, and there we go. That's our design. So that was 100% for free. We're getting to use all this stuff, commercial use, which means we can use it for our own design. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and download this. It even gives us a few different file options, but we want to make sure this is a PNG. We're going to hit start download, and it's going to ask us, do we want the solid color? Do we want this black image to, or the black background to come with it? Or do we want it to be transparent? And 90% of the products you're going to want a transparent background. So transparent PNG is this type that we want. We're going to click that, and it's going to start downloading here, over here on our left-hand side. So that's it. Hopefully it's not too scary. I absolutely adore this tool. It has opened up a lot of doors for people to enter the print-on-demand space with confidence, because you can create very quick and easily competitive designs. That now that we know how to target these landing zones because of the keywords, we actually know how to make designs for them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and we're going to talk about actually creating the listing. So putting it all together. Now that we have the keywords and we have the design that we're going to use, we have to actually know how to make this listing on Merch by Amazon. I'm just going to pause for a second and check that I'm still connected. Stephen,
yes.
Are you there? Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to a look at how you can actually make a list on Merch by Amazon. And so the first step is, once you have your account, you're going to go to merch.amazon.com, and you're actually going to click this little sign in button over here at the top right. So we're not requesting invitation anymore. We're actually going to sign in. That's going to bring us to this page, which may look like signing into Seller Central and some of the other programs, but this is specifically for Merch by Amazon. So you want to make sure you're using whatever email got accepted for Merch by Amazon and the password that you have associated with that account. And then you're going to go ahead and hit sign in once you have entered both your email and your password. And that is going to bring you to your dashboard. So again, if you haven't opened this is the first time you've opened your Merch by Amazon account, congratulations, you now have a partnership with Amazon that you get to tap into. Like we said, all the millions of dollars they've invested into their Merch by Amazon, their print-on-demand platform, and we get to interact with it through this dashboard and through this account. So just a very quick glance at some of the things that you're going to notice here. Messages are very important. You want to keep an eye over here, especially this last update that got put out just a few days ago of the recording of this. They've actually changed some of the terms of service, and they talk about all the content policy changes here, and reading through those, and making sure you know what you can and cannot do is very important. And there were some pretty big changes. So if you just got your account, going through all the messages that are here is a good idea, just to stay up to date with how things have changed over time. They include the dates, so you kind of know when those things were implemented. But this is a good thing to keep your eye on every time I log in. I'm looking at this message board and seeing if there's anything new. The other things that we're not going to show off too much here today, but is the Manage and Analyze tabs. This is where you can manage listings that you already have up and analyze your sales and what things have sold, and even pull your CSV files so you can look at them in other software or just in a CSV form, which is helpful. So that's just a very, very quick glance at your dashboard. Again, if you want to know more, if you have any questions, come find us in one of our communities or on Facebook or something, and we'll gladly tell you more about this. But we're going to try and keep moving forward for tonight, and we're going to just focus on this Create tab up here at the top left. Once you click on that, that's going to bring you to this page. And so we're actually going to jump into over the shoulder and talk about this Create page, which is now the new batch uploader. This used to look different just a few days ago, but now there is this change to where we can upload one image and have it on multiple products, which is awesome. So when you first get to this page, Stephen, are we good?
Yep.
Hear me? So, okay. When you first get to this page, the first thing that I want to do is I always go over here to select products, because this is going to tell the batch uploader what products we want to upload to, and even what marketplaces that we want to upload to. So we do have a few different marketplaces unlocked to us, and that's .uk, so EU, and .de, which is Germany. And so for this example that we're going to go through, we're actually going to uncheck everything besides the standard t-shirt. So it's not too overwhelming, but this is a great way to upload multiple products very, very quickly. And these all count as different listings. So just keep that in mind as you move forward as well. Some of these, I'm going to say, have a different design size for them. So t-shirts are 4,500 by 5,400, and the sweatshirts and the pop sockets and some of these other products are a little bit different sizing, but you can check that out very easily when you actually click on those products and find the exact sizing that you need. The last thing I want to point out in the select products area is .de. So this is Germany, and they highly suggest, if not require you now, to translate all of your keywords and sayings and everything into German. So just know that going into this, you might have to use Google Translate, or if it doesn't fit your process and you're saying, okay, I'm getting stuck here, this is bogging you down, maybe just go ahead and uncheck these every time you make a listing, and don't worry about Germany, because it takes a little bit of extra work. So those of you out there willing to put in that extra work, this is a place for you to shine. But for people who just want to practice getting shirts up and aren't worried about like scaling this thing to the moon, or just trying to work on the basic concepts that we're talking about tonight, maybe removing one extra step from this process that can take a while is a good idea. So that's what I'm going to say about those this select products area. So you can see I grayed out all these other products, and we're not going to be focusing on them. We're going to be focusing on the standard shirt. So the first thing we want to do once we've got our product selected that we want to print on is we're going to go ahead and upload our art. And you can see this quad design that we made. Inside of Spark is the perfect PNG file that we need, and we can go ahead and open that. And while this is loading, we're actually going to talk about the keywords. So up here at the top, it shows us all the products, and we can interact with the products up here. But if we scroll down, we're going to see product details, and this is where we start to interact and put our keywords in place down here. Okay, still good. Moving forward.
Yes, sir.
I got to talk about art and the products, and now we got to talk about keywords. And I'm going to talk about this, but you know, it's only because Stephen supplies me with a way to talk about this, and it's actually here that I need to pull this out. Okay, so for our listings, usually what we're doing beforehand is creating our titles and our brand name.
Yeah.
And our bullet points beforehand, because we're using our tool in a document similar to this to put all those things in place. So we don't get here and have to try to put things together last minute. We do some work up front and actually use the keywords that we pulled from our tool to make our brand name, our title, and all our bullet points and descriptions and all those great things. So that lets me, when I actually make these listings that Stephen's helped me do, I can actually just go ahead and copy and paste those things right into our listing over here, just saving me some time, which is very nice of him. So we're going to copy and paste those two things in, and then we're going to talk about bullet points just a little bit here. So this can be a place that you get stuck. And again, if you're just practicing going through kind of the steps here and trying to see patterns and get better and quicker and faster at this, this might be something that because it's optional, you don't spend a ton of time on. But the way that we actually create bullet points is with kind of that Mad Lib style of doing things. So basically, we have these pre-written out bullet points, and where you see that things are bold and italics, this is us taking, again, from those 10 keywords that we found at the very beginning and just entering them in these gaps. So who do you think of when you saw this? And then it's usually blank, but we just went ahead and filled it in with four-wheeler race design. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's a way that we found that we could very easily speed up this process, especially for someone like me who isn't a huge fan of keywords. We can just throw those keywords into this pre-made saying, and it's much easier for me to copy and paste this right into our bullet points. We're not spending a ton of time here writing out like unique text that's going to connect with the people trying to buy this shirt. Because while we do want good keywords in here, keywords have actually shown, and we've seen this in our own accounts, to be a good way to, again, emotionally connect ourselves to the person buying this. So we want to pull them in, by writing good bullet points here. We don't want to just keyword stuff that's actually against their terms of service. So we've written out keywords that we think emotionally connect with people looking at these and reading the bullet points, but with some of those keywords in there to still rank with the Amazon bots.
Yeah, and
So,
I just want to step in here.
Yes.
I know creating listings is something that we both can talk on for probably another 2 hours. The keywords in these listings and how Nathaniel's using them is more of his style. It is a way to get it done. You're not, like he said, custom creating each bullet point and writing them out to maximize or optimize your listings. You can see that some of the keywords are used more than once. If you're really truly trying to optimize your listing, using keyword more than once will not help you index any better. We have found, though, with merch, because there's so many listings going up, sometimes we want the keyword phrase to index. So as you can see where it says like four-wheeler racing or four-wheeler or mudding or perfect riding, some of those keywords are used more than once, but they're in a different keyword phrase. So even if we might use the word quad 3 times or more in a listing, we want to make sure that they're around different words so that Amazon can index the single word and the keyword phrase. It's just this is where you're going to want to build your own system, because there's always a balance between optimizing and speed, or I should say quality versus quantity. And we are always trying to find that, again, middle ground, that balance between both, using Nathaniel's like Mad Lib style, where he's able to go, okay, these are the words that I'm mostly using. I'm just trying to sneak in keywords throughout this copy. I can get this listing done. So that's why this is a big topic. We can talk on this for a long time. If you're having problems making listings, reach out to us and we will be able to help you with this process.
Yes, I almost selfishly hope that you have some questions here, so you will come and find us and ask those questions, because this is something that we spend a lot of time to figure out, and a lot of tips and tricks that we have to share on this area. But we talked about this a lot already tonight, and so we don't want to just keep going on all the tips and tricks we know just for how to make successful listings. But the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the product description. And again, you can see this is optional, but this is a different type of bullet point. It's not going to show up where all the bullet points are, but what this does do is it shows up for people looking for mobile or on their mobile devices at your product. It doesn't show all the bullet points, but it will show your product description. So again, my quick and easy way of doing this is to copy whichever bullet point that I like the most. So say I like this first bullet point the most, I will copy this, Control C, Control V, and put this down in the description, and just, doubling up that, because people looking on their computer usually do not scroll all the way down to where the description shows up, and people looking on their mobile devices aren't going to see their bullet points at all. So it's okay if we use the same thing here, but we want to make sure that people on mobile have something to look at, something to read, and again, hopefully we can emotionally attach ourselves to them with this copy. So we're not completely done, but that was the last thing I want to talk about as far as keywords went. And now I'm going to scroll up and we're going to edit the details of the shirt. Now that our image is actually loaded on here, we can see, woohoo, it worked. We had the exact sizing that we needed, the exact file format. It actually is showing us a mock-up of what that's going to look when it's live. And so if we go ahead and hit edit details, it's going to show us a few different options that we have to change things here. So youth sizing, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is something that has gotten people in trouble. So make sure that you read the latest and greatest terms of service on what goes on youth sizing. The short answer is they don't want anything inappropriate on youth shirts, but definitely go check and look at what Amazon's Amazon's definition of inappropriate is, and you can find that in your terms of service for your Merch by Amazon account. I know that this is not anything inappropriate, so I am going to go ahead and check youth sizing, and then we get to our colors. And while we can check every single one of these colors and say, okay, it's great to offer our customers everything that they want, and they can go ahead and pick which one they think is best, we've actually found, and not just us, research has been done to see that this kind of overwhelms your customer, and too many options can actually make them turn away and feel indecisive, which is not something we want. So my strategy for this is, again, to not overthink it, to keep it simple, Stephen, and to just hover over the different colors we think this design looks good on. And we're just doing this, again, by 2 to 3 seconds. We're not going to really hum and haw over this. We're not going to go grab, our brother or sister or wife or whatever and say, hey, come look at this. Do you think this looks better on this screen or this screen? Just kind of pick what you think looks best. And the one other rule that I'll give for this area is I usually don't select 2 colors that are in the same family or the same hue. So this cranberry red and this red, I don't want to give my customer these 2 reds, even though I think this design looks good on both of them. I would uncheck one of them, again, just to remove some of that indecision that they could have, some of that uncertainty that they might feel when looking at both those reds. They could go back and forth until their internet dies, and then they never get a chance to buy your shirt. So just pick one of the reds. If they like it on red, they're going to go with this one. They're not going to know that a cranberry was available and be upset at you. They're just going to either like it or not and kind of move on. So usually picking 2 to 5 colors. 5 is definitely the max that I personally pick, but just selecting black, you saw that it was pre-selected, and because again this is the most sold garment color is black, so that's something that they're going to check for you, and making sure your designs look good on a background is a good thing to do, knowing that most people buy black t-shirts. The last area that we're going to talk about as far as the design part goes is this price or the royalties that you can charge. We've messed around with this a lot, and there's some, discussion.
Pricing strategies.
Yeah, there's some strategies and discussion on whether you should be looking at your landing zone for this type of information as well. But in the beginning, we highly suggest leaving your designs at $19.99. This is something that me and Steve and Bud had butted heads on at the beginning because I just wanted to charge, you know, $14.99 or whatever the lowest we could go at the time to get all those sales that we could and boost up our account. But he convinced me over proving it on multiple different examples that people aren't afraid to pay $19.99 for a shirt, and even bumping up some of their shirts that were selling at $14.99 to $14.99 to $19.99. It didn't slow down our sales at all. So we highly suggest that you just leave this at $19.99. And you know, there's different strategies even going higher than this and lower than this that you can mess around.
Pricing strategy is for sure something I can talk on for hours.
But for tonight, we're going to say just leave this at $19.99 and keep moving forward. So you can do that for every one of these products on here that you want to sell. But again, for tonight, since we're just showing off the standardized t-shirt, that is all we have to do. And now we've made our merch listing. So we can scroll, we can just double check to make sure that we don't have any yellow triangles. You can see we have that for Germany, but we're not selling on Germany, so that's okay. Public is always going to be selected. There are a few instances where selling on a private link is a good idea, but for 99% of your products, I'm going to say that public link is where you want to put that, so that when you have sales, everybody on Amazon that's searching for your keywords can actually see that. And then you're going to hit this review button when you're all ready to submit that, and it's going to ask you, do you actually own these things? Are you ready to push this public? And then you can go ahead and hit submit, and you have your merch listing listed the Wingman way. So I'm going to jump back into slides here, unless you want to take over from here, Steve.
Sure. If you stop screen sharing, I'll screen share.
I'm out of water. My voice is starting to dry up.
We told you tonight was going to be a long one, but hopefully you guys have no excuses now to not be doing this. Like we're pretty much breaking down everything for you guys. Like Nathaniel said in the beginning, we've been doing this for a long time ourselves. We've been helping people for the last 2 years. This is a strategy and tactic that we've come up with that we've been able to help a lot of people have success. And we just want to break everything down so that you guys can actually put this stuff into action. So now that Nathaniel showed you how to do the art and actually get the listing up, this is a next step that we always suggest to people. Create multiple listings. Because this is POD and it does not cost you every time you want to create a listing, you should be putting more lines in the water. You should really be testing, don't guess. And this is a question that we get asked a lot, and a lot of people are always trying to show us their listing or tell me about their keywords that they're using and which one's better. I don't know. But you will be able to find out by making multiple listings and letting your customer see it. And then they will be able to tell you what's working the best, or at least what they prefer. And that's truly why we like POD, so that we can test the market. We have a visual aid that I hope kind of explains this concept. This took us a long time to fully understand. And we were testing a lot of shirts and having some success and not having some success. And then it was just frustrating for us, and we couldn't really figure out the customers. But once we started putting up multiple listings in a landing zone, the light bulb went off and we're like, oh, we should be doing this for anything that we're going after. It just allows us to better understand the customer if we're giving them multiple buying options in any one particular landing zone. So this is kind of listening to the market. Why we're putting up multiple listings is so we can really figure out what the customer is looking for, and then be able to use that information again moving forward to what we call double down and give the customer exactly what they're looking for so that we can serve them better. So if this is the landing zone that we find, quad racing shirt, we're able to make a listing. We make one piece of art. We get a few color options because merch gives us that option, and then we get to pick one price. Now, say we make this listing, it goes live, the customers start coming, and we're not getting any sales. This is what used to happen to us a lot, and it was a little frustrating because we go, okay, we know we found a good landing zone. We know kind of what the customer is looking for, but we just can't get that sale. What's going on? We don't have enough information to know why this didn't work. So what we started doing is making multiple listings using slightly different keywords in the titles. And then we would also make different variations or different styles of shirts targeting that same landing zone. This gave us the ability to use different colors And it would allow us to try out different prices to really try to figure out what that customer is looking for. So now when customers are coming, now we're starting to get some sales. So we would say, oh, we should have titled it a little bit differently. But instead of like a normal listing on Seller Central where you have to go in and change the title and wait for Amazon, and you can just make multiple listings. So you can immediately start testing multiple things against that customer base with merch, which is fascinating. This is why I really love teaching people this style of business, because you can start testing a lot of things and start earning money. So if this was an OA or RA business, you would have to buy at least 4 to 5 different products and then test that against the market. Now that's a lot of financial money that you're putting up front to find what product works the best. For this, there is no upfront money. There is time, and that's why we really like to validate and check our cross our T's and dot our I's when we're doing the research process, because we don't want to waste a lot of time. But once we find something that we know that we want to go after, we kind of attack it in multiple directions so that we can really understand the customer. So this quad 4-wheeler racing shirt is the one that got purchased. And then that image that we started with was the one that worked. Yellow was the color, and they still prefer that $19.99 price. So now we have a much better understanding of this customer with a purchase.
Sorry, I did want to say, like, so having one sale on a landing zone is a bigger deal than just, yay, I made a few dollars. This means that you were able to target that customer and present them with something that they were willing to spend their money on. And chances are, again, if you're following our 5-step test to finding landing zones, that there's going to be other customers who want to also purchase, you know, similar products. So this is a big deal, and we can talk about doubling down on all the other like parts of this, but you should celebrate, you know, sales in especially new customer bases that you're going after a little bit more than just, yeah, I made, you know, $5 or whatever on the single product, because it means that you did the system right. So this is kind of the pat on the back, along with making some money, you know, earning as we're learning, and that's, you know, hopefully you go back and, you know, practice this some more so you can perfect this system.
Yeah, and we found that if you actually are making multiple listings, one of them kind of takes off, but then you'll start getting other sales. So it's not like you wasted that time. Just one of the shirts might actually like lead the charge and get you most of your money, but you will get additional sales with those other shirts. So you're still targeting that same customer and making multiple sales in that same landing zone, that same place that you're trying to target your shirts. And that's how we're able to gather a lot more customer information and get to know, oh, yellow, I wasn't really using yellow in my designs. Maybe I can go back and really figure out what customers want and use this yellow in my designs. So to recap, serve. This is the final phase in our wingman strategy. This is where you're delivering value to your customers. Like Nathaniel said, you don't necessarily have to be a graphic designer. It almost hurts you. Just keeping things bold, clean, and simple is what we found works the best. Test, do not guess, create multiple listings, and then listen to the market. And what I want to leave you guys with is just test, test, test. Find what works best for you. We see patterns in our business, and the more we help people, we see that they see different patterns. It's because the different customers that we're going after. We can say most shirts are black and they prefer the white text, but that's not across the board. Every niche prefers that. If you're going after, say, teen girls, they might prefer pink. If you're going after older men, they might prefer white colors or just something different. So it's always, you have to test the market and figure out what works best for you, and then find your process, your system. We just want to show you our process, something that we've been able to help hundreds of people have success in merch, and just kind of get you guys started on the right foot. So again, this wingman strategy is all about the customer. We want to discover the customer. We want to understand the customer. We want to serve the customer. Focusing in on the customer is what has catapulted our business to the next level, and how we've been able to build systems and hand those systems off to teams of VA. Sorry. And what we've been able to help a lot of people have success with. This concept is simple and it works, but doing the actual work and being consistent is a difficult part. And that's why we want to just hammer home this idea of, this is our process. This doesn't have to be exactly the process that you use, but you should find a process that works for you so that you can build in some consistency in your process.
And to help with that consistency, if you go to the next slide, we are going to show an action plan for you, some homework that you can take after watching this presentation. We want you guys to create 5 listings using our method. And we think you're going to learn a lot about that. And you might, even like we did in this presentation, get stuck somewhere. And the best thing that we found to do is to reach out. We hope that you feel comfortable reaching out to us, but reaching out to other people and seeing, what advice they might have, what system they may have been using, is a great thing to do. But we want to provide you guys with 3 places that you can reach out to us and get in contact with us. So on Facebook, facebook.com/U of WM. Is the University of Wingman, and this is our Facebook group that you guys can go and see the other crew members that we have there, people who are all doing this business and all want to come together and have success with print on demand. Over on YouTube, you can see this is our link. Again, Wingman University is our channel name, and this is where we put up a lot of free content talking about how to use Spark more effectively, how to make listings quicker. We've got a lot of tutorials and a long catalog of videos actually over on YouTube of just ways to catch up with things that we've talked about in the past, and maybe brush up on some things that you might have known before. And the last place is our actual website, wingmanuniversity.com, and this is the true hub of our business. And we are building this out to be more and more robust, but you can find things like our tool for free over there on the wingmanuniversity.com, along with some other ways to get in touch with us and some other content that we have there on our website. So the last thing that we're going to leave you with for tonight is a special gift. So we talked about Spark and we talked about how to design, but because I'm very passionate about helping you guys not see this as something scary or not see this as a stumbling block, I really want you guys to have success. And so the way that I want to do this and help you guys out is offer a discount for my Spark 101 course, which is going to walk you through the exact way to set up the artboard inside of Spark, how to use all the tools there inside of Spark specifically for print on demand, because that's not what Adobe Spark is made for. Like I said, there's a lot of tips and tricks that I've learned over the years of how to do that, and I have put this all into one course, and I'm constantly adding to this course as well. But for going through all of this content and sticking with us through this entire thing, we want to make sure that you guys are taking action and not getting stuck anywhere. So we provided you some places to reach out and connect with us, and we also want to provide a discount for you guys to get inside of Spark, make those designs, and get these listings to market.
All right, faces.
All right. That was a lot.
We made it.
Made it. Oh my God, now you can see I've moved to another room. I have like quotes on the wall, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm in the den. The boys are supposed to be asleep, but they're not. So first I want to say that was awesome. And
Thank
for
you.
everybody who was on tonight's training, we are recording this for a purpose. Not just for our group, but then also for these awesome gentlemen. Because I want you to know that both of them are men of God. I love them. I think they're amazing. I met them at Joy's event, and they were all about blessing our group, and I was all about blessing them with what I know and what I can do to help them.
Your organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I have become popular in that area. I got 2 more leaders who have reached out to me asking me for help with organizations. So clearly I'm going to have to put together a pricing board to do this. But I want you guys to know that this information that they gave you was very helpful. So a couple of things, and I'm sure they're going to shoot some questions, but before we get started in the questions. So you said 5 listings a day for everyone you recommend as a starting point. So long-term, bigger picture, do you think like that they should be testing, a couple sets every single day? Let's say we got 2 different types of people. Somebody that's a stay-at-home mom, and so she's got maybe about 2 to 4 hours a day that she can block out. And I believe in time blocks. Everybody knows that works with me knows that I believe in time block. So she can block out time to focus on her print on demand, to do her research, to do her graphics, and to put up her listing. And then you have another person who's working a full-time job. And maybe they've only got 2 hours a day that they can commit to their business. What is your recommendation for both of those two types of people?
I'm going to jump on this first because I think Nathaniel has I'm not sure. I think maybe a better answer to this question, but I would say because this business is changing so rapidly and because the tools that we show you can be done on your mobile device, even Spark, Nathaniel showed that tool, that can be done on your phone. I went to a local meetup last Monday and was talking to people about merch, and she had an account and she wasn't doing anything, and when she was like, I kind of gave it to my daughter, and my daughter's a little stuck with the designing. She's not really a graphic designer. I just told her about Spark, and I was like, I think you can get it on your phone. And she actually designed 20 different styles of shirts while we were sitting there for like 30 minutes. So it's a weird way to answer the question that you can, in your own process, find different ways to do different things. So if you are having trouble with the research, maybe you want to block out and like, okay, I want to sit down for an hour and just do research because that takes me the longest time, and I can do research, I gather all the keywords, and then I know I could do designs while I'm driving to, maybe not driving to work, but on the bus or on a lunch break. Like I can find different times in the day to do the designs. Or if you're like me, like I can use my phone to do research very quickly and then just screen grab that or copy and paste it to something like Evernote or a different system. So it's because technology has advanced so far, like if you're a techie, you should be able to find like different gaps in the day to do different parts of the business. But if you just want to block it out, we took 2 hours to do that presentation. But if you're just sitting down and looking for landing zones, you can kind of do start to finish in 20, 30 minutes and start getting some listings up. But I would say figure out which one you are. Like if you're a keyword person or an art person, and then kind of figure out tools to help you do those processes. I think over time, you'll start to speed everything up. But I would strongly suggest like find a customer base and then stick with that customer base for at least a month. So everything you do can start being compounded on. So if you're doing keywords, you don't have to keep every day going back and finding different keywords. You'll start to notice like, okay, I'm going after racing. Quad racing is maybe one of the landing zones. Quadcopter is another one. There's a lot of very similar keywords that I can use. Racing, maybe not mudding, but like car type keywords. There's like catch-all keywords that you'll start seeing. And that's why we say like, look at the patterns. That's the biggest like aha moment in our business, was just like, oh, there's so many cross promotional things that we can, not cross promotional, but cross ways that we can pull the information and be able to use the keywords over or the art over. Nathaniel made that very quick like flag with the quad bike on there. If it's a quadcopter, we just remove that image and then put the quadcopter on there. And that's like almost instant. You can do that because you can duplicate that inside Slack or not inside Slack, inside Spark. Sorry, I'm tired now. Inside Spark, you can take that image off and put another image on. So there's a lot of ways to speed up this process, but you just have to do it. And that's why I say be consistent, find your process, find your system, then you'll be able to speed this all up. And then hopefully, if you're like us, be able to build a system and then hand that off so that you can work on your business instead of in your business. And I think that's where I really like POD, because you can start scaling this business very rapidly.
Yeah, I want to do that. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Stephen gave you like the 1,000-foot view of what we want you to do, but to be a little bit more like practical.
Yeah, that's why I said Nathaniel probably has a better answer for this.
I mean, we do believe in just creating those 5 listings using our method. We made it look very simple and easy, but that's only because we've been doing this for almost 4 years now. So when you go and do this yourself, you're going to run into walls. And that's why on the same page that we told you what we want you to do, we told you all the places you can reach out to us when you do get stuck. We've done this over so many years and we've taught so many people, and the best thing that you can do is, like Stephen said, practice going through this. There are going to be places you get stuck, learning how to push through that, even if it's not exactly to the T the way that we did it, finding what works for you. And then if you do get to a point, again, where you're just like, okay, I give up, I tried to do this thing, I got through one listing, it worked out really well, I got to the next one where I'm making another listing and I'm just, I can't find another landing zone. That's when you can reach out to us, and we are here to help you. We've made this look kind of easy, and even designing on Spark, I was like, oh, you just go here and pull these 2 images. But we have this whole course that explains like how to do this more effectively, because we know there's a lot that you're learning here. There's both the keyword side of things. There's both the design side of things. You're kind of using both halves of your brain for this business. So there's a lot of information, a lot of learning that goes on. But the only way that you're going to start bringing things to market, having success, is by going through this process. So we're here to help you guys. But creating those 5 listings, I think, is going to teach you a lot, kind of about this process and maybe about yourself as well. The things that you enjoy, the things that you want to avoid, and then that will help you, make your the process of the way that you do things. So when you do block out time to work on your print-on-demand business, if you're using our method, you'll know, okay, I know that I struggle with keywords. Let me spend an hour and a half on finding keywords because I know it's only going to take me 30 minutes to make the designs. So knowing yourself, knowing how you can operate in our method is going to show you a lot. And again, we're here.
I should have wrote down some things because I really have a whole bunch of stuff that I think is going to be helpful, and I'm sure the ideas are going to come back to me. But I like the idea that you said that, and everybody should make a note of that, whatever you know. So I know autism. I literally could go after autism from so many different angles. And I also know about nonprofits, and working with children with special needs. So there's just a whole plethora of ways that I could go with that, and not just focus on the children, but focus on the adults. And don't forget, we're going to be talking about other forms of POD, that some of those designs, you can multi-purpose them and later on use them, put them on bags and put them on cups and
scaling.
So start scaling.
Yeah.
So begin that process and do what they say, and do the 5. The other thing is be consistent about it as well. So that way, if you're doing the keyword research, if your niche that you're going to focus on, or your double niche or whatever, is going to be autism, or it's going to be children with special needs, or adults with special needs, or whatever, then make sure, you're keeping track of all those keywords, because that's going to be beneficial to you. That's going to save you a bunch of work. Before you know it, in a month, if you're doing this every single day and you're doing your work, you will have a boatload of keywords as a source, keyword phrases and everything. So definitely do that.
And a boatload of art.
And you'll have a boatload of art that you can just keep repurposing and repurposing and repurposing. So the key is the consistency. So someone said, what if you want to combine your niche? So if you have a car theme with Halloween or different seasons, what are your thoughts about combining niches? I call that niching down, but yeah.
Yeah, combining 2 niches is definitely a powerful way of running this business. And that's why we strongly suggest, understand your customers, know your customers. If the car customer is your customer, you're going to know those keywords. You're going to know quad racing, might not fall directly under cars, but it's in that same realm. You're going to say, okay, quad bikes, this is super popular, this is working for me. Now, how can I find those trendy things that are coming? Christmas comes. It shouldn't be a surprise. Christmas is coming. Christmas.
The date never changes. Yeah.
But even things that are very popular, like dabbing, those are things that you can mix into quad bikes. So you can avoid a ton of the competition. Competition is doing dabbing Santa Claus. That's 2 trends that are coming. But if you know quad bikes, you know the keywords, and then you can just add, oh, this is a trend that's coming. I wonder if my customers would like this trend. So now I can have a dabbing quad bike. And then you're really getting away from a ton of the competition, and you have all those keywords and you have all those art elements. That's why we're going to talk about this more in the next 2 weeks, but we always see as art and the keywords as assets. Once you start building those lists and you have assets, you can continue to go back to those assets and get the most out of them. And that's why we say this is a scaling, compounding business. Getting started, building your system, being consistent, that's the most exciting part. But really, when you start having keywords that you can tap into that work for you, and having art that you're oh, I know these customers like the back of my hand. They love orange. They love this. They love these sizes. Now I wonder if the dabbing is something else. That's when you can really start distancing yourself from the competition and really start. I don't know. I'm getting too excited now. That's when you really start selling.
There's such a difference from the beginning of these calls where let me get to the end. Yes.
Here we go. He was about to go to sleep. Now he's awake and he's energized because.
Well, that's why I said the questions is what gets me excited. The merch is this is where the foundation, and we've talked about the foundation at nauseum. So it's not exciting for us to talk about it. We know it works, but it's we've talked about it so much. That's why we really reached out to Nicole, because we're tired of talking about the same thing. How do we do it. So it's like kind of an evergreen thing that people can go back and watch. And she was like, oh, you do it this way, this way. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's too much. Like, that's too much. I don't know how to do any of that. So she was like, okay, let's work together. We can kind of figure that out. But that's why, like, the next part of, that's why we want to give all this stuff away for free right now. Because once you start getting hooked into selling POD, it gets very addicting. And then you go, how can I use all of these elements that I have and this asset and get the most out of it? And that's where I get super excited, because we're always learning new techniques or strategies or partnering different product lines and different
Is he naked? Sorry, was my son naked on film?
I don't
We didn't even catch that.
I was like,
different
what is Daniel?
platforms. If we can go after all those different platforms and products, like that's where everything gets super exciting, because then you can start seeing, oh, for this little bit of work, I can really start taking over and dominating these spaces because I understand these customers a lot more than everybody else.
Okay. I lost all my thoughts right there, but I do want everybody to know. So we're at the beginning of Q4. So all of you, like, follow up with Merch to see if you got approved, so that you can spend the next week actually working on these 5 steps, and just keep working on the 5 steps. The thing that when I teach, I tell people all the time, like, okay, I can tell you how to ride a bike, but until you actually physically are on the bike and pedaling, all of the stuff that I tell you is meaningless. We could go through it. You could do a simulation. Okay, like it's kind of like, flight simulation. I could try to fly with a simulator, or when I do it for real, it's different. So we just need you guys to really get started. Contact Amazon tomorrow. See what you can do to get your process going. Get approved, or see what they need, so that you can move forward and start exercising the 5 steps, and try to put it into your calendar. This is just my recommendation. Try to do this at least 5 times a week. Seriously, because the more you do it, the more it'll make sense, the more it'll become natural to you, the more it'll become fluid, the faster you'll get at it. And that's something. The other thing was, you guys mentioned you have a tool. How much are you selling your tool for? Just asking.
Free.
See, so they have a keyword, that Wingman keyword tool. So at some point when you and I talk offline, you're gonna put a price on that bad boy. But they have a tool. So are you gonna give me the link so I can share it with the group?
Yeah, if you actually go to wingman.com, you can click on tools and it will come up. But Nathaniel, I'm trying to buy him time. He should have the actual direct link to the tool. And why we want to give it away for free is because it'll help you get started. We have plans to make this tool a lot more robust. We have it working for us, doing a lot more things to make the listing process much quicker. Right now, we're just providing the keyword side of it to help people, so that you can go put in keywords and start sorting and have a better understanding of it. And like I said, we want to help you guys have success in this POD space, because the more powerful part of this is like the partnerships, the scaling the business. Like, merch is just the start. Like, I know a lot of people do merch and then they get burnt out and go, I can't figure it out. Like, you're just really earning and learning. If you can start selling some listings and understanding the customers, and then take that information away from merch because it's extremely over competitive in some places, and get into those greener pastures where you can make hats where very few people can do that, when you can put it on mugs where very few people can do that, like, that's when things get super exciting, because then you understand the customer over here, and then take that knowledge to where there's really nobody competing. The blue ocean is where you really want to take that information, and then that's where you can really thrive in this POD business.
There you go. He just told you. So I'm going to see if I can sweet talk these 2 men of God to come back and hang out with us, maybe one time in October and one time in November, so that way, if you guys have questions, run into issues, then you can, you can ask them. The other thing is, all the leaders, just so you guys know that everybody's in the academy, all the leaders are following along with you. Like, some of them already had, like, we already have merch accounts, or we were already doing print on demand. I started doing print on demand last year. I just didn't do as much of it. So this year is like, okay, I'm gonna get serious and do way more. But so some of us have already done some of it, but I just want to encourage you guys to get started, and just know that the leaders will be walking alongside you. We'll see if these awesome young men will walk alongside you. Well, they will. They already told you they would. But we'll try to get them to come back to the group, like, and because they have to run their own business too for Q4. But again, you can clearly see, they still traveling. So one of them's getting ready to go on a cruise, and the other one's, anyway, they still doing their thing.
I'll let you guess.
Yeah. So clearly, you know, again, they figured out a way to run their business and not have to worry about it. Some of the things that they outsource, and I will let them speak on this, but some of the things they outsource is they outsource some of the keyword research, maybe some of the creation of the designs. And
not
so
some. That's all.
They've outsourced all of that. So as you get better at this and you get more consistent at it, that's one thing that you will learn is how long should it take somebody to do keyword research? You can start to create a process to teach people how to do keyword research. You can outsource that. How long does it take for somebody to create graphics? So then you can create a process so that somebody else can create the graphics. So all you have to do is just go and do what you need to do with your account. Because again, they're working in their businesses only a couple times a week. Okay? I did say that right. I didn't stutter. There was a fluid sentence.
You are correct. We love working on our business instead of in
our business, right? So I
want of 12-hour days back to back, me and Nathaniel in a sweatbox essentially. We get to the point where we could outsource our business,
right?
And so we want to save you guys that time. That was more learning this process. So we're trying to help you guys not have to cry and be frustrated and fight each other.
So the one thing I will encourage you is if you actually take action tonight and you continue to take action for the next 90 days, I promise you there will be a reward that you will not believe because you have enough information to begin the process of gradually outsourcing. You will have made a boatload of money during Q4. And as you start to outsource, you actually will make more money outsourcing because you can hire a VA, ironically, for $200 to $400 a month, although for 40 hours a week. And what if somebody was doing this 40 hours a week for you versus whatever time you have to throw at it, which is maybe 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Just imagine how much more money you would make at that point. So I just want to put that in the back of your brain right now, because you are doing this, you're working now. It is all about the sowing the seed. You are sowing seed now so you can reap the harvest later. And it's up to you whether or not you're going to be consistent. I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but I have an opinion about this. Okay, so Kelly has a question. What about things that you find with spelling or grammatical errors in them? Is it frowned upon to go and fix errors or do your own designs with it? So I'm guessing that she's like cloning an existing listing or something.
We wouldn't suggest taking the exact design, but I showed you guys how to take inspiration from things. So if you're seeing a saying that is working very well, but someone has misspelled something, again, trademark, research that to make sure that there are not any trademark problems. But if that's the case, then doing something similar is okay. But do not steal what is already there. Don't use the same exact font and the same exact color and the same exact layout. That's just not a great way to do business, but you can take inspiration from those things. You can use different fonts, slightly different colors, and still the same saying, and just improve on what's already there. But if you're seeing something with a mistake and you want to fix it, again, you can do that. Just don't use the exact same layout or designs that they've used.
And I'm going to say this. Okay, so we all see Chick-fil-A and eat more chicken. We clearly know that's not how you spell chicken. Nor is it eat more. You don't spell that way. Like some of that stuff is probably either slang.
Well, I didn't graduate high school, so that all looks correct to me.
Oh, man. So you didn't graduate high school and look how much money he's making. But anyway, we're going to go back to what Kelly was talking about, grammatically correct. So look, if it's got grammatical errors and it's selling, then there's a reason why it's selling, and I'm probably going to keep selling it with it spelled wrong.
Yeah, that's where that test comes into play. Make sure you're trademark checking, make sure you're doing your due diligence, but then test the market. Is it because it's misspelled and it's funny, that's why it's selling, or did they truly mess it up and it's still selling, and one that's spelled better or has better grammatical, I don't know. See, I didn't graduate high school. I don't know how to say this, but one that's actually correct might actually sell better than the one that's misspelled. Yeah. And if it's misspelled and selling, it could be our listing because
every time I sell a shirt that has a word spelled wrong or something, my mom
send it to me.
She loves looking at my accounts and all the sales we're having. She's like, "Did you know you misspelled this?" I'm like, "Great. We'll go back. We'll make another version. We'll put that up, but it probably won't sell as well as the one that's misspelled anyway. So whatever."
That's true, Kelly. There is a difference between your. And trust me, Larry reminds me all the time when I'm using the wrong tense for something. I'm like, look, sell. Okay, SAE. You know, we could go through the whole SALE, SAIL, and then sell CELL. Like, okay, we can.
And
I get it.
insider's tip that if you like grammar and that's something you pay attention to, there are a lot of grammar shirts on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Text-based design, so you don't have to do any imagery with them. You can just put text up there if you're making some type of grammar pun or whatever. So maybe that's something that you look into, Kelly.
There you go, Kelly. All right. I think everybody, like, if you wanted to come out and unmute yourself, you could talk. I know it's super late. We have it's almost 11 o'clock for me, which means it's almost midnight for them.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's been a long day. It's been difficult. And I thought for sure that they was about to drop out of that call a few times. That's why he kept on asking, like, am I still here? Because he had a lot of calls throughout the day and he was dropping off. And I was like, great, okay, now I got to handle this call.
That's okay. But you guys, I would just say this on a side note for everybody, like, these guys are recording these and you did a great job. And so you got some clean splices in there. I'm just letting you know that's going to be money later. So I'm just letting you know. So I think we're going to call it because it's so late. If you all have questions, we can submit the questions. We can come back to them next week. They're going to start with print on demand. So please have taken action this week. No matter what, please have taken action. Hold on, Nicholas. And if you do, when they talk about next week, yeah, I was like, oh, is he naked on screen? Like, because I couldn't tell if he was naked. Because what I did was I put my phones so I wouldn't be so dark, you know, because somebody said something about the dark, and I was like, oh, you're covering yourself. So yeah. Look, I know I'm dark. I'm nice and chocolate. Anyway, and I'm beautiful. I know this. So I'm a dark version of Halle Berry. So, hello, somebody. So anyway, we're going to see them next week. And, but if you have questions in the meantime, like, really take some action tomorrow, get on the horn with merch, or maybe send a message. Go back over there and go back over there. Go over there. Thank you. Get on the horn with merch and try to get your account approved, so that you can at least have a couple of days under your belt of actually implementing what you learned. Go back and rewatch this. If you have to pause it every 20 minutes just to, watch it and pause, like watch 20 minutes of it, make some notes, pause, then go do the action. Then come back, push play, watch another 20 minutes, pause, take action, go implement what they said. I need you guys to do this. You will thank me later. You will thank me later. You actually will thank them later, really.
That's what I want to leave you guys with is you don't actually need a merch account to do about 90% of this process. So even before you get approved, you can go ahead and use our method, do the research, make your design, so you're already prepared when you do get your account that you can just upload that stuff.
Hello. Now that is he just kicked all your procrastination to the curb. All of it.
I'm about to trump Nathaniel because
okay, well, go ahead.
Amazon has another program called KDP that takes no application process, and everything that we showed you tonight can be done almost verbatim on KDP. Now you might have to switch out the word t-shirt with book or journal or notebook or something like that, but everything that we showed, that's why we like to teach like this. That discover, understand, serve is how we run all aspects of our business, no matter if it's merch, no matter if it's KDP, no matter if it's Etsy, no matter if it's Shopify. Everything that we try to do is find the customer, understand the customer, then serve the customer. Now, we might use different tools and things, and depending on the platform that we're working with, there's some small tweaks. But if you don't have a merch account and it's hard for you to get a merch account, I mean, we're going to talk about this next week, so I just am getting a little ahead of myself.
Okay, but that's all right. But you just, both of y'all just gave him some goals. So they both just kicked all of your procrastination excuses to the curb. Every single one of them, they just kicked them to the curb. So you can start doing keyword research tonight if you're still up. I mean, I don't know if you're on the West Coast or not. Some of us is going to bed, but you can start messing around with Spark tonight and doing design. You can start doing research on Amazon tonight. So he just kicked all of your excuses to the curb. Okay, I'm just saying. So y'all need to get with it. You need to hop to it. There's some money to be made. There is some dollar bills out there that got your name on it, and all you can need to go do is go claim them. Okay?
Truth.
That is true. So somebody said, how do I get to the KDP site? Well, he just said, you know, you do a Google search for Amazon KDP, and there you go. So
yeah, I can't remember. It's very similar to merch. I don't know if it's kdp.amazon. Whatever, but if you Google search KDP or Kindle Direct Publishing, it'll come up. And if you have a Seller Central account, you can use the same exact sign in for that and have that account up and ready.
Yeah,
but there is no application. You just need to create the account. It's just like Spark. If you go in and sign up for it, then you have an account. There is no barrier. We love talking about merch because there is no additional steps. Like you just gather the keywords, you do the art, you make the listing. With KDP, you have to do the internals. You have to really set up the book cover. It's a little bit more problematic, but the process is the same. You go find the keywords, you go find where you should be putting that product, and then you start creating that product and getting that listing up. And it's print on demand, so there is no upfront cost, which is, I don't know, mind-boggling that Amazon allows us to tap into their system.
We got a lot more information. We are very passionate about that. You guys can see after 2 hours, a very long day, all this stuff that we've done. We still have a lot of information and a lot of advice and tips and tricks that we want to give you guys. But I think we're ready to call it. At least I'm ready to call it a night. And we will see you guys next week. It is kdp.amazon.com, but Nicole just shared that so you guys have it.
Thank you all for the blessing. I appreciate you. God bless you. Safe travels, my babe. And we'll see you, Nate, next week. So
See you guys
bye
next
for
week.
now. Everybody, watch the replay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.